build a wall.
using us as slave labor.
The uprising is upon us!
We're under attack!
We need to build a wall. We need to build a wall. We need to build a big, beautiful wall. We need to build a wall. We need to build a wall. We need to build a big, beautiful wall. We need to build a wall. We need to build a wall. We need to build a big, beautiful wall. We need to build a wall. We need to build a wall. We need to build a big, beautiful wall.
On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty-colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. Poor thing, she cried, I'll take you in, and I'll take care of you.
We need to build a wall. We need to build a wall. We need to build a big, beautiful wall. We need to build a wall. We need to build a wall. We need to build a big, beautiful wall. We need to build a wall. We need to build a wall. We need to build a big, beautiful wall. We need to build a wall. We need to build a wall. We need to build a big, beautiful wall.
But if I hadn't brought you in by now, oh heavens, you would have died. She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed him and held him tight. But instead of saying thank you, that snake gave her a vicious bite.
Whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. I said certified freak. 7 days a week. Wet ass P word. Make that pull-out game weak. Yeah, you effin' with some wet ass P word. Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet ass P word. Give me everything you've got for this wet ass P word. Beat it up, N-word, catch a charge. Extra large and extra hard. Put this P word right in your face. Swipe your nose like a credit card. Hop on top, I wanna ride. I do a kegel while it's inside. Spit in my mouth, look in my eyes. This P word is wet, come take a dive. It continues along these lines. And it gets significantly more vulgar. Like, a lot more vulgar.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Sorry, coffee went down the wrong pipe. And I'm still recovering. So, want me to cough in your ear. Woo! But, that's why I decided to play the Ben Shapiro thing. So I could try to get my throat cleared. You know, my throat is often over congested. Not been mad that heteros are shoving their lifestyle in our faces. The horror. Hello everybody. Hello. We are. One more drink. I'm gonna take a drink to clear my throat, and we're gonna do the intro. All right. Hello, and good morning, my beauties and bees. We are live from the Hive. It is Saturday morning. It is 8:38 here in Mountain Time on August 9th. And what a show we have for you today. It is 82 degrees out here in El Paso right now, which is pretty damn hot. But, you know, even El Paso doesn't compare at all to the heat of not that one, of the Sahara Desert, which I believe is what was chosen on our polls. So let's go check them. Let's go check out those polls and see. Yeah, there we go. All right, so this week's polls, we had Charming the Serpent still pulling up the last place on there. Interesting. I'm too hot for El Paso. Well, thank you. It's about, we're going to talk about, it's going to be about snake charming in general. The Charming the Serpent, both Appalachian snake charming and India cobra charming and all that stuff, and how people use snakes to pull a grift. You'll find it interesting. Second place was ectoplasm episode, which we're going to talk all about ectoplasm, where it comes from, what it is, where it's reported, where it's seen. It's all gonna we're gonna wrap it. We're gonna wrap the legacy of ectoplasm. Then we got Trapped in Stone, which is about animals that are encased inside rocks, presumably for hundreds, thousands of years, and released most of the time to die immediately. But we're going to look at the folklore around it, the phenomena in general, and if we can't figure out what it is. And then we got the Eye of the Sahara, which is what won today. So we are going to be delving into the Eye of the Sahara. Is it a ancient civilization? Is it the battlefield of Goliath, primordial beast going round and round? That's the idea that I like to go with. I like to think this is the results of like a Godzilla level kaiju battle taking place in North Africa. But we'll find out. We will find out. All right. And then, of course, we have Cryptic Corner that's right around the corner, like 4 minutes away, really. Now, in Cryptic Corner, we have the Big Muddy Monster. He's our current hairy hominid on there. I only keep one hairy hominid on the list at a time. So, like, if you have a favorite hairy hominid that we haven't covered, like, say you're a big fan of the Australian Yowie or something like that, the skunk ape, and you want to get to that, you do have to go through the Big Muddy Monster. He's the next on the list. So he gets his time in the spotlight. But he is actually more aggressive than most North American Bigfoot sightings, though. So if you're interested in seeing some aggressive Bigfoot action in the middle of the U.S., Big Muddy Monster is your guy. Then we have the Nandy Bear, which is this weird cryptid bear, hyena dawn, Suba Kimbwa, whatever it is. It's a cryptid carnivore from Africa, and it is got a body count. It's one of the few cryptids out there with a pretty good body count. Then we got Kushisaki Onna, which is a Japanese ghost entity. Very specific, has its face sliced up on the sides, and Japan has so much ghost folklore, so much wonderful ghost folklore to explore. We're going to be seeing more of that. I'm trying to branch out a little bit. Sort of focusing on European-centric stuff. But what won this week was the Pishtacos, which are not fish tacos. I know people will be like, fish tacos. I'll take 2. Can I have... a good fish taco is, in my opinion, my humble opinion, is a full-size flour tortilla with tartar sauce spread on it, sprinkled with the greens. I want coleslaw is what I want. Sprinkle coleslaw on there, or not like made coleslaw with the sauce already on it. It's like the leafy coleslaw, the chopped cabbage and stuff, and carrots, and then the fish, and then just a pickle laying right there with that. Magnifique. Because I take the pickle off. I eat the pickle separate, or I give the pickle to somebody else. But I do want my pickle, regardless. But Pishtacos are not related to fish tacos, as we will dive into later in the show, or not much later in the show, like 1 minute later in the show. Other than that, you can tell me what you're going to do with your cryptid army. What type of creatures would you get? I just bought 2 Mothman, and we retired to our own private quarters. So, but you all can pick whatever you want there, right? Yeah, and also Holy Spirits. Don't forget Holy Spirits is coming, because Dr. Ben's new show is hilarious, and you should watch it. Yeah. All right, so who is ready to move into Cryptic Corner? Because that was the Cryptic Corner alarm over there. Yeah, right here. Going off saying, hey, you got to start Cryptic Corner now. All right, I'm going to see you guys over there. Hopefully, we get more people rolling. And it's kind of a slow morning. That's all right. I'm not mad. I'm just taking notice. But good morning, everybody. And I will see you all in Cryptic Corner. Hello, my beauties and bees, and welcome to another installment of Cryptic Corner, where we explore the unexplained, the supernatural, the paranormal and hidden, the mysterious, the alien, the accursed, and the forbidden. I am your host, Miss Bumblebee, and today's selection of cryptic content for you, chosen by the audience at large, was Pishtacos. Again, as I was saying in the live, or into my live audience, it's not anything related to fish tacos, but it is some freaky folklore. So it comes from South America. We're going to get more details on that as we go through. I figure I would do some freaky folklore. Now, the thing about the freaky folklore here is that they don't have, it's just a still image of this dude, like the whole time. But they'll tell us what the Pishtacos are. Pishtacos. I still want to call them Pishtacos. I know that's not how it's actually pronounced, but all right, let's see. We get the volume on here.
Throughout the mist-shrouded mountains of Peru, Bolivia, and Ecuador,
is that better? That
there
volume
lurks
better?
A predator.
Is that volume better? Let me know. Hopefully our audio's good. There's nothing wrong with my mic. I mean, just talking about like last night when we did Charlatans Web, and I was having some audio issues. It's software issues. It's because I'm trying to run OBS and Streamlabs at the same time, and both of those have mic inputs, and they're both fighting for it and trying to cancel each other out, and it makes my volume drop the whole time I'm talking. So I have to keep my volume setting thing pulled up and slide it back over. It's so annoying. So I'm probably going to switch before I do another episode of Charlatans Web, which is going to be a little while because I'm going to be out of town next Friday.
More feared than any natural animal or harsh element. The indigenous peoples of the Andes have whispered warnings about these beings for centuries. They appear as outsiders, pale, often foreign-looking men who travel alone. In colonial times, they were Spanish conquistadors or Catholic.
It sounds like that's a good origin expectation for them, is that they were European slavers.
Friars. Today, they pose as doctors, researchers, or tourists. But beneath their human disguises lies something ancient and hungry. The Pishtaco stalks remote mountain trails under cover of darkness or thick fog, carrying a curved blade of unnatural sharpness. With surgical precision, they slice open their victims to extract the one thing they crave: human fat. Their victims, if found at all.
So, just to make this clear, in case anybody didn't know, pale skin, foreign in the Andes. I might be Pishtaco, so that might be why I like fatty foods. That might be why I can't get enough deep fried food.
Appear hollow, their skin hanging loose like emptied sacks. The Pistaco doesn't just kill,
Look,
it harvests.
my skin's
So if
hanging
you're
loose.
traveling through the Andes,
It's actually not really my skin. My real skin's underneath this. This is my human suit. Isn't it cute? It's the cutest human suit in the whole Pishtacos league. Pishtacos. Gotta start saying it right. I still want to call it. I don't call them fish tacos anymore. Let's discuss the Yowie. Yeah, I can put the Yowie on the list, but we have to get through Big Muddy Monster because let me show you. Here's the polls. And there can only be one hairy hominid on the poll at a time. And right now, Big Muddy's on there. And he's not doing very good on the polls. So if you want to see Yowie, I do want to do Yowie. I love Yowies. We have to move past Big Muddy Monster. So, right? But everybody keeps voting for aliens. Y'all have been very alien heavy this last section of Cryptic Corner. It's almost tempting me to make my own another alien segment on the show that's just aliens so that we can get through more cryptids and ghosts. Yeah.
and encounter a pale stranger on a lonely path. Remember the local warning. Don't walk alone after dark. It might be the last walk you ever take.
I don't even have a knife. I have a fork. It's in the package still. It came with my food. Oh, yeah, I do have a knife. Hold on. Pishtacos time. Yeah. I want to carve your fat off with this little butter knife. Oh.
This episode of Freaky Folklore contains disturbing content, including graphic descriptions of bodily mutilation, surgical extraction, paralysis, indigenous trauma, colonial violence, and intense horror. Listener discretion is strongly advised.
I mean, most of that stuff's what we're all about here. And even the indigenous trauma is, I want to make people aware of that, because a lot of people don't understand those aspects of indigenous trauma and colonial, from the colonial era. It really fucked up these cultures. They created monsters based on us. Look at that. There's a monster based on a European person. That's my opinion on it, though.
Welcome to Freaky Folklore, where we dive headfirst into the darkest corners of human imagination. I'm your host and fellow fear enthusiast, Carmen Carrion, exploring the creatures and entities that have kept people awake for centuries. From whispers around conquistadors' campfires to modern encounters that spread like wildfire through remote mountain villages.
She was just talking a little bit too slow. Hey, DeFreak. Good morning.
We're examining mankind's endless fascination with the macabre and mysterious. There's something viscerally thrilling about stories that make your skin crawl, that make you hesitate before accepting help from a stranger on a lonely mountain trail, or trusting.
And that's kind of funny, though. That I'm not funny. It's tragic, really, that it's like lost. These things would disguise themselves as like a lost tourist. So part of the folklore is like, don't trust lost tourists because they might be Pishtacos. So people don't trust the tourists when they see them, and then like someone calling for help out in the wilds, and someone's like, nope, I'm not going to help that Pishtaco.
Pale-skinned doctor who appeared from nowhere in the mist. These tales aren't just entertainment. They're windows into our collective fears, cultural anxieties, and the shadows we all sense but rarely confront. Tonight's legend from the ancient peaks of South America might just have you reconsidering your next solo hike through remote mountain passes. This show proudly haunts the EerieCast Podcast Network. For more nightmare fuel that'll keep you deliciously terrified, visit EerieCast.com.
But we do not do EerieCast.com, so you got to support me right here. There's buttons down below. There's like a little thumbs up button, right? You hit that. There's a join button if you want to if you want to help out that way, you can join and send me money. You can also hit that bell and subscribe and hit the bell to be part of the Hive.
Or follow us wherever you consume your podcasts. Drop us an honest review on iTunes if you dare. Each one helps us lure in more listeners to our web of terror. And trust me, you don't want to face these monsters alone. So check those mountain trail maps twice. Keep your hiking companions close.
Oh,
And
also, you can get a Cryptic Corner t-shirt. And it says Cryptic Corner right across to your boobs. Cryptic Corner is what my titties scream from the top of their lungs. And then on the back, you don't have to get this one, but on the back is Mothman. So that's my own Mothman design too. So these are on the t-shirt website. Let's see, PC usually has those going, but I think PC is asleep still. Let me see if I can drop a link. Yeah, it's right there. What? Yeah, there you go. Go get one of these cool tank tops. These are my favorite that I've designed so far. But I do like the t-shirts and the hoodies and stuff, but tank tops are awesome.
remember that some warnings from Indigenous elders should never be dismissed as mere superstition. You're listening to Freaky Folklore, and tonight we're exploring the chilling legend of the Pishtacos, the fat-stealing phantoms of the Andes who have left a trail of hollow corpses throughout 5 centuries of documented history. Maria Quispe had lived in the shadow of the Andes her entire life. She had seen her small village of Haitara transform over the decades, electricity finally reaching their homes, a paved road connecting them to larger towns, young people leaving for cities and returning with strange new ideas and technologies. But some things remained unchanged. The mountains still dominated the horizon, ancient and unmoved by human progress.
And the Pishtacos are still there, right?
And the old
Morning,
dangers
Dee.
still lurked in the remote passes and lonely trails. Maria had been teaching her granddaughter Carmen to weave in the traditional style, passing down patterns that had been in their family for generations. Carmen was just 13, bright and curious, but more interested in the smartphone her cousin had brought from Lima
Morning, John Hudson. Did you see my rose?
than in the ancient techniques of their ancestors. Abuela, why do we use this particular pattern on the edges? Carmen asked, her fingers struggling with a complex weave. It protects the wearer, Maria replied, guiding the girl's
We're
hand
also getting some ancient South American weaving folklore in this tale, or in this narrative.
with her own gnarled fingers. The zigzag confuses evil spirits, makes them unable to follow you. Carmen tried to hide her smile. Evil spirits like the Pistacho? Maria's hands stilled. You should not speak of such things lightly, child. But Abuela, my teacher says the Pistacho is just an old story, a way people explained bad things before they understood science.
Oh man, I should have wore some zigzags today, because I'm tempting the Pistacho to come after me in my home.
The old woman's eyes hardened. Your teacher is from the city. She knows books, not mountains. She leaned closer to her granddaughter. Let me tell you something that happened to me when I was younger than you are now. Carmen sat up straighter, suddenly interested. Abuela rarely spoke of her childhood.
If homie looks like this, though, I wouldn't approach him either.
I was 12, Maria began, her voice dropping to just above a whisper. My father was a herder, and I often helped him with the sheep in the high pastures. One evening, we were returning home later than usual.
Ah, legit sheep sounds. I love it. Oh my gosh. Well done. Ah. Yowie. No, we're talking about discussing Yowie at a later time. native atheist. Not right now, but welcome. Good morning.
The mist had come down thick, as it does in the rainy season. Maria's eyes grew distant, seeing not the adobe walls of her home, but the misty slopes of 60 years ago. We were hurrying because no one should be on the mountain paths after dark, but the sheep were stubborn that day, and one had gone missing. My father told me to continue home with the flock while he searched for the lost one.
What's in the bag? Well, they collect fat, human fat, so I'm assuming it's fat in the bag. But if I was collecting fat, I'd probably try to use like a jar or something, not a drippy bag. Although bags can be, inflated and whatnot. When I think of a optimal bag to put fat in, though, I think, have you ever changed the soda things out in a fast food or a gas station or anything where they got fountain sodas in the back? There's big jelly bags that are inside those that are full of syrup. That's what I think would be the optimal way to store human fat if you were a pistazo.
Carmen leaned closer, captivated by the tension in her grandmother's voice. I was afraid, but did as I was told. The path home followed a stream through an...
And this is the soap that Dr. Ben makes. This one has a little bumblebee on it. Look at that. This one is the Hive. And it smells so good. So, yeah. It's not made from human fat, though. At least not as far as I know.
Narrow valley. As I rounded a bend, I saw a man standing by the water. A stranger. Maria's hands trembled slightly as she continued. He was tall and dressed like a doctor, with a white coat even though we were in the mountains. His skin was pale as bone, and when he smiled at me, his teeth seemed too sharp and white. He called to me in Spanish, asking if I was lost, if I needed help. "What did you do?" Carmen whispered. I remembered my mother's warnings about the Pistazo. I clutched my little cross and said the prayer she taught me. The man took a step toward me, and I saw something glint in his hand. A curve.
So how did they do this before the Spanish brought them Jesus then? How did they handle the Pistazo before religion found them?
Blade, the Pishtana, and I saw his eyes. Maria shuddered. They reflected the fading light like an animal's eyes. Carmen's skepticism had vanished, replaced by genuine fear. I ran. Maria continued. Abandoning the sheep, I ran faster than I ever had in my life. I could hear him behind me, his footsteps unnaturally quiet for someone in pursuit.
Yeah, maybe I'd be all right. I'm pretty skinny. Maybe the Pistazos wouldn't want me. I mean, I have a little tummy fat. That's kind of new. That came with my butt. Yeah, as my body transforms, I do have fat in different places. It's kind of nifty, but the Pistazo would have trouble pinning it down because it's flowing, you see. It's flowing from different regions of my body. It's transforming me. So as they sliced in one spot, it might slither away. Just food for thought.
He called out to me, his voice sweet as honey, but cold as mountain water. He said he only wanted to help me, that he had medicine for tired young girls. Did he catch you? Carmen asked, though the answer was obvious. Her grandmother was here, alive, telling the tale. Maria shook her head. The mist grew thicker, and somehow I found a small cave hidden behind a waterfall, a place I'd discovered months before while playing. I crawled inside and made myself as small as possible. The old woman's face darkened. I heard him searching, splashing through the stream, his voice growing angrier as he called for me. He remained there for hours until the full darkness.
He needs to aim a little. So like a 12 or 13. She said she was 12 or 13. I can't remember. Either the girl she's telling it to is 13, and she was 12. But anyway, we need some. We need some clarification on what kind of fat he's looking for, because infants will have different fat than adults. So that's like why there's a famous story about a couple who was like had a car accident and went off the road in snowy mountains with their baby, and the baby, like, they got frostbite and lost fingers and toes and everything, and the baby was fine because baby fat is so much better at keeping temperature regulation as long as you don't move around a whole bunch, as you don't exert yourself, which babies don't because they just lay there. So did they want, or what kind of fat are the Pishtacos going for? Come on, Grandma. This is almost as bad as Joe Biden. Yeah, Joe Biden's pretty bad. War criminals, all of them. Sorry I'm late. Why is young Norma Jean hosting this morning? Where is our girl Brie? Check this out, too. I love this look. It looks better with the dress I was wearing yesterday, though. But, like, I was at the mall, right? And came at a Hot Topic. And we're going down the escalator, and these kids were behind us, and I turned to look for her, and then look back, and they said, hey, and started yelling at me, and they're like, oh, we love your whole thing. You look so amazing. It was so funny. I had groupies in the mall. Really, like I told Bo and Ben, who were with me at the time, I told the boys, I was like, that really filled my bucket. I needed that. I needed someone to tell me I'm pretty. Tell me I look pretty. Tell me I look good out in public. That's crazy. I think they like the boldness of my expression, too, because I'm pretty... and I stick out like a sore thumb, a 6-foot, blonde, tall, pale woman in El Paso.
Miss Kane, I didn't leave that cave until morning light. What about Papa, your father? Maria's eyes filled with tears. My father found me the next day. He had heard my screams from across the valley and came searching.
Oh, thank you, the freak. $2 super chat. It says BB heart eye sunglasses. Sunglasses 100. Yeah, I'm gonna interpret that as saying them sunglasses look amazing. I love these sunglasses. It's actually Bo picked these out for me. They're cheap like sunglasses, so they wouldn't cost me that much. They're like $2. But they're super cute. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes when I was still working across on the other side of the mountain, I would sometimes I would answer my Uber driver in German in the morning so they wouldn't talk to me. It was an easy way to avoid conversation. I don't like to talk first thing in the morning, which is surprising because I do this morning show, but I have to get up and move around and do all kinds of stuff before that. And this was much, much earlier. This is like 5:30 a.m.
But the mist was thick, and the valleys distort sounds. By the time he reached the stream, I was hidden, and the stranger was gone. Maria fell silent, her hands resuming their work on the weaving almost unconsciously. That's it? Carmen prompted. You hid and were safe. Not quite, Maria said quietly. A week later, a shepherd from the neighboring village found a body high on the mountain slopes. It was a man they didn't recognize. A traveler, they thought, who had gotten lost in the mist. But his body... Her voice faltered. They said it was like an empty sack, the skin hanging loose where it should have been filled with flesh. I
think that what they're describing here is sort of like finding somebody who had starved in the wild, right? Like somebody who's all skin and bones, and conflating it with this weirdo that was trying to stab the little girl in the woods.
Single cut from chest to belly, sewn closed with strange thread. All his fat had been removed with surgical precision. Carmen's eyes widened. Was it the same man? The one who chased you? No, child, Maria said, her voice hollow. It was my father. Carmen gasped. But you said... I said my father found me the next day, and he did. But after ensuring I was safe at home, he went back to the mountains to confront what had threatened his daughter.
Your dad went to pick a fight with his Pistacho? And this is the first time you're telling your granddaughter that your dad was killed by a supernatural creature?
His hands tightened on the weaving. He never returned home that night. And when they found him, he had been harvested. Maria looked directly into her granddaughter's eyes. The Pishtacos took my father's fat because he couldn't take mine. They say the fat is used to make powerful machines run smoothly, or medicines for rich foreigners, or cosmetics that keep wealthy women's skin young. I don't know what is true. I know only what I saw. She touched Carmen's cheek gently. So you will learn.
So, like, as... Who was it that said that about making soap? Yeah, DeFreak, you were right on the money with what they're going to use it for. They're going to use it for for machine oil. They're going to use it for cosmetic oil, and presumably soap. We'll consider it soap. Yeah,
Patterns that protect, and you will never dismiss the old stories as foolishness. Some dangers are as ancient as these mountains, and as real as the ground beneath your feet. Carmen nodded solemnly, her earlier skepticism forgotten. That night, she dreamed of pale men with reflecting eyes, carrying curved blades that gleamed in the moonlight, walking the mist-shrouded trails outside her window.
See, it's weird that they're just describing pharmaceutical executives.
The Pishtacos, or as some pronounce it, Pishtaco, is one of the most enduring and terrifying figures in Andean folklore, a being intrinsically linked to the violent history of colonization and the continuing exploitation of indigenous communities. Unlike many folkloric entities that fade with time, the Pishtaco has evolved alongside Andean society, adapting its appearance.
What kind of funny hat are you gonna, or fun party hat are you gonna get? I have a few hats. I have this one. I have a pink one like this too. It's like I call it my pink pony hat, but it's this one. It looks good with this hair too. With my hair like this. It doesn't really match my outfit so much. Plus, this is my cryptid hunting hat, so we're doing CrypticCorner. I have other hats too, though. I have like a clown hat and stuff like that.
And methods while maintaining its essential nature as a harvester of indigenous bodies. The word Pishtaco comes from the Quechua pishte, meaning to behead or to slice, reflecting the surgical precision with which these entities extract their victims' fat.
I watch Supernatural too. Other than the Monster of the Week, I really didn't like the overarching story after season 6, but I thought that was a good place to stop. And if they were to do more, do a spin-off. I'm in El Paso. I'm spending a year in El Paso. I'll be here from November 2024 through November 2025, and then we are heading out to California.
These beings are almost universally described as outsiders, initially Spanish conquistadors or Catholic friars during the colonial period, later European-looking strangers or travelers, and in modern times, often North American or European researchers, doctors or aid workers. They are invariably pale-skinned, often with unusual eyes that reflect light like an animal's. They may appear well-dressed and speak the local language with just enough of an accent to mark them as foreign. While they present themselves as human, close observation reveals subtle wrongness, movements too precise, breathing too shallow or non-existent, and a coldness that radiates from them like an aura. Some accounts describe them as
creepy. So, like, Grandma just said that they use the fat for machines. What kind of machines do they run? Do these creatures run? That's interesting.
having hollow backs, their human appearance merely a facade hiding their true nature. The Pishtacos signature trait is the specialized tool they carry, a curved sickle-like blade called a pishtana. This implement is used with surgical precision to make a single incision, usually in the abdomen, through which they extract every drop of fat from their victim's body. The historical context of the Pistaco is deeply rooted in the trauma of colonization. When Spanish invaders arrived in the Andes in the 16th century, they brought catastrophic disease, brutal labor practices, and systematic exploitation that decimated indigenous populations.
Yeah, they were pretty brutal. And I don't know about harvesting people for fat, but yeah, for slaves, definitely for labor.
The Pistaco emerged as an embodiment of this predatory relationship, the outsider who literally consumes native bodies. What's particularly significant is how the legend adapted as colonial power structures evolved. During the colonial period, Pishtacos were often described as friars or priests, reflecting the Catholic Church's role in subjugation. During the 19th century, as European engineers and entrepreneurs came to exploit mineral wealth, Pishtacos began appearing as surveyors and miners. By the 20th century, as medical and anthropological research became more common in indigenous areas, the Pistaco transformed again, now appearing as...
That is exactly right, DeFreak. They want that yellow metal. They're after the gold. That when they were hitting up those Andes mountains, they weren't searching for fat.
Doctors, researchers, or aid workers. This evolution reveals the legend's function as an ongoing commentary on exploitative relationships between indigenous communities and outside powers. From an anthropological perspective, the Pistaco serves multiple functions in Andean society. Beyond simply explaining disappearances or deaths, this legend embodies complex ideas about body, power, and exploitation.
It's a story that says avoid white people in the woods, which... for the most part, it's probably a good idea. Pistacos when beef tallow just doesn't cut it, right?
Pistaco's focus on fat is especially significant. In traditional Andean cosmology, body fat is associated with life force, fertility, and social bonds. By stilling fat, the Pistaco doesn't merely kill, it captures the victim's essence, their potential, their future. The uses attributed to the stolen fat reveal another layer of meaning.
I did not know my potential was stored in my fat. Gracious. Maybe I should get more potential.
Indigenous Andeans believe Pistacos harvested fat to make church bells ring more clearly, to create medicine for European diseases, or to lubricate machinery. In each case, the fat literally fuels the mechanisms of colonial power. Indigenous bodies consume to maintain the systems that oppress them. In modern accounts, the fat is often said to be exported for cosmetics or pharmaceuticals used in wealthy nations.
Would you buy little sacks of fat from a glowing-eyed pale weirdo even if you were a European trader, a soap maker? Like, say you're a soap maker and you like set up shop and you're Spanish or whatever, and you set up shop on I don't know, in Lima or something, and someone knocks on your door late at night, and it's this glowing-eyed, pale weirdo. He's like, would you like to buy some of this totally not human fat for your soap?
Updating the metaphor for contemporary global inequalities. The message remains the same. Indigenous bodies are resources to be extracted for others' benefit. The psychological impact of this belief system cannot be overstated. In areas where the Pistaco legend remains strong, it shapes behavior in measurable ways. People avoid traveling alone after dark. They maintain suspicion of outsiders, particularly those associated.
And for the most part, those are all good, solid traits to have, right?
With medicine or research. Some communities maintain protective rituals, including carrying garlic, mirrors, or certain herbs believed to repel these entities.
I wish that had been used in the story instead of the cross, because it would be nice for them to use something from their indigenous. It would be nice. Well, who the fuck am I to say? But someone clutching a cross is colonized, right? It'd be nice to see the indigenous way of dealing with the supernatural entities instead of the old vampire tropes that were brought over with the Spanish.
It would be easy to dismiss these practices as superstition. They serve practical social functions, encouraging group travel, which is indeed safer, maintaining healthy skepticism toward outsiders who may have exploitative agendas, and preserving cultural boundaries in the face of homogenizing global influences. The Pistaco legend has been documented in academic literature since the 16th century. Spanish chronicler Cristobal de Molina wrote in 1574 of indigenous peoples fleeing their villages because they believed Spaniards were killing them to extract fat for medicines. In the modern
Yeah, I like Dean too. I like Dean much better than Sam. Dean can be my daddy.
era, Pistaco panics continue to erupt periodically. In 1987,
Oh my gosh, I'm glad that you didn't get lost though, because if you get lost, the Pistaco might get you, Ryan. But they give you free liposuction, so if you tell them where you want the fat removed from, I'd be like, right here maybe? That'd be it though. I don't really want to lose my booty.
during a cholera epidemic in Peru, several vaccination teams were attacked because locals believed they were Pistacos harvesting fat under the guise of providing medical care. In 2009, Peruvian police arrested a gang they claimed was killing people to extract and sell their fat, a case that made international headlines before authorities later backed away from their initial claims. These panics often coincide with periods of increased exploitation or intervention by outside forces, suggesting the Pistaco functions as a cultural...
Like they show up and pretend to be the Red Cross and then get you inside their little tents and they're like, I'm going to cut out your fat now. Crazy.
Alarm system, activating when indigenous communities perceive new threats to their autonomy and bodily integrity. The Pistaco's origins can be traced to the violent collision of worlds that began with the Spanish conquest of the Inca Empire in 1532. However, archaeological evidence suggests the concept has...
And I like Jensen Ackles in the My Bloody Valentine remake too. A lot of people didn't like that one, but I did. I liked it better than the original one anyway.
Deeper roots in pre-Columbian beliefs. Ancient Andean civilizations practiced ritual extraction of body fat in certain ceremonial contexts. The Mochi culture, 100 to 700 CE, created ceramics depicting ritual specialists removing fat from human bodies, suggesting the substance had sacred significance long before European arrival. Some scholars connect the Pistaco to pre-conquest Andean deities.
Well, I mean, the fat is important as a person. You need that fat to survive the more dearth seasons of your life, right? What are the seasons like in the Andes? I'm sure they're pretty rough, so there's going to be times where you're going to need to live off your body fat.
Associated with mountains and caves, powerful beings who demanded sacrifices in exchange for fertility and protection. When the Spanish arrived with their incomprehensible technologies and devastating diseases, indigenous cosmology already contained the conceptual framework for entities that extracted life essence from human bodies. The trauma of colonization transformed these existing spiritual concepts into something more sinister.
How is Ryan late and then already stole third place? What? How'd that happen? You think that DJ Megan's been talking and Hudson's been talking? I guess John Hudson's in second place. But I'm just surprised. That's all.
The astronomical death toll from European diseases, the brutality of the Meta labor system that worked indigenous people to death in silver
Yes,
mines,
famine resistance.
and the physical violence of conquest created the perfect conditions for the Pistaco to emerge, blending pre-existing concepts about fat with the very real predation indigenous peoples experienced. By the late 16th century, the belief was firmly established throughout the Andes. The Spanish called it nonsense, but from an indigenous perspective, it was a perfectly logical explanation for the devastating impact of colonization.
Ooh, did you really? You're so sweet. Ryan, you are so sweet. Why you gotta be so sweet to me?
On their communities and bodies. This history reveals something crucial about the Pistaco's persistence. Far from being merely superstitious, the legend provided an explanatory framework for actual experiences of exploitation. When your community is being decimated by foreign invaders who extract your resources and labor, the Pistaco isn't fantasy. It's a meaningful metaphor that helps make sense of otherwise incomprehensible trauma. The Pistaco has gradually entered wider popular culture, appearing in literature, film, and even academic discourse as a...
And on Supernatural. Yes, that was on Supernatural too. I don't know what they were doing in North America.
Powerful symbol of colonial and neo-colonial relationships. For indigenous activists, the Pistaco has become a powerful metaphor in political discourse. When protesting against extractive industries, biopiracy, or medical exploitation, speakers often explicitly reference the Pistaco, drawing connections between historical forms of bodily exploitation and contemporary economic relationships that continue to extract resources.
I mean, it's good. It's good to have like a warning, some kind of warning system to say, hey, don't trust these types of people when those type of people have exploited you. But yeah, I mean, there is a little bit of bigotry there, but if it's well grounded, I mean, indigenous populations didn't survive colonialism by trusting the invaders.
From indigenous communities for global consumption. In November 2009, headlines around the world reported a bizarre story from Peru. Police had arrested a gang suspected of murdering up to 60 people to extract their body fat, which they allegedly sold to European cosmetics manufacturers for thousands of dollars per liter. Authorities displayed containers of what they claimed was human fat and described an international trafficking network. The case, which became known as Pishtacos Modernos in Peruvian media, captured
the modern Pishtacos
international attention. However, within weeks, it began to unravel. No bodies were found, no cosmetics companies admitted to purchasing human fat, and medical experts questioned whether such a trade could exist at all, given that animal fat would be far easier to obtain. By December, Peru's top law...
You can get it from a liposuction company like they did in Fight Club. You can, remember that scene where they're throwing the bags over the fence and the snares on there and all the human fat starts dripping down? They were using the types of bags I was talking about, though. Maybe that's why I think of that type of bag when I think of transporting human fat, too, because I got like Fight Club on my brain where they were in those like syrup bags from fast food syrup bags for soda.
Enforcement officials have backed away from the original claims, suggesting the suspects may have invented the fat-selling story to cover more conventional murders. Critics argued the entire episode revealed how deeply the Pistaco myth remains embedded in Peruvian consciousness, influencing not just rural indigenous communities, but also urban police and government officials. Whether or not an actual fat trafficking ring existed, the panic revealed something important. When unexplained disappearances occur in the Andes, the ancient explanation still rises to the surface. I never intended to research the Pistaco. As a graduate student in medical anthropology, I had come to Peru to study traditional healing practices in highland communities, not chasing...
No one expects to examine the Pistaco. You get roped into the folklore.
After folklore. My dissertation advisor had warned me about becoming too fixated on sensationalist myths rather than documenting actual medical knowledge. But 3 months into my fieldwork in Ayacucho, I couldn't ignore how the Pistaco kept appearing in conversations. Whenever I asked about illness or the body, eventually the discussion would turn to them, the fat stealers, the night surgeons, the hollow men who prey on the unwary. At first, I recorded these stories with academic detachment, seeing them as metaphors for larger social anxieties. But then I met Alicia.
They probably thought you were a Pistaco. You're here for the pistachios? Aw, nuts.
82-year-old former mine worker who changed my perspective forever. I was interviewing him about respiratory treatments. The mine had left his lungs damaged, when he suddenly grabbed my wrist with surprising strength. "You want to know about real sickness?" he asked, his voice dropping to a whisper. "I will tell you what they don't put in your university books." Alicio rolled up his shirt to reveal a long, thin scar running from his sternum to his navel. Unlike the rough surgical scars I'd seen from rural operations, this one was unnaturally precise, a perfect line that had healed to a silvery white against his brown skin. "I should be dead," he said simply. "I am the only one who ever escaped the Pistaco's table." I started to offer the standard explanations. Perhaps he had had surgery in a city hospital and misremembered the circumstances due to trauma or anesthesia. But something in his clear, steady gaze stopped me. It was 1968.
So someone asked earlier about what the time frame is on some of these stories. This one's 1968.
He began. "I was walking home from the mine at dusk. We had been working overtime because a section had collapsed, and the foreman kept us late clearing debris. The other men lived in the company housing, but my wife was expecting our third child. so I had moved my family to my cousin's house in the next valley. He described the narrow mountain path he took, how fog had settled in as it often did in the rainy season. I knew
This fog seems to be an overarching characteristic of these encounters as well.
that path like my own hand, could have walked it blindfolded. But that night, something felt wrong. The air was too still, the birds too quiet. Halfway home, Alicia...
When I cut this, I'll probably put some kind of slideshow or something over top of the video, because it's just this scene, the same background, which is not exactly riveting. I mean, he's creepy looking, but he can't keep me occupied for the full hour of the show. So I'll probably find some different art of Pishtacos to shuffle through here to make it a little more dynamic.
encountered a landslide blocking the trail. Unusual because there had been no rain for days. As he searched for a way around it, he heard someone call for help from the rocks above. It was a man in a mining company uniform, like a supervisor, but I didn't recognize him.
You talking about ayahuasca? The freak? Yeah, ayahuasca. The mystic tea of the Andes.
Said he was inspecting the landslide and had injured his leg. Could I help him reach the road? Alicia climbed up to assist, finding a pale-skinned man with unnaturally dark eyes. His Spanish was perfect but strange, like he had learned it from books, not people. His injured leg seemed fine when he thought I wasn't looking. Nevertheless, Alicia helped the stranger, supporting him as they walked. The fog grew thicker, and Alicia realized they had turned onto an unfamiliar path. When I questioned him, he said it was a shortcut. Something in his voice made my skin go cold.
A shortcut that he's gonna slice you up with. Hold on, where's my Pishtacos? Mine is a plastic butter knife. I think this one's from KFC. I'm not sure though. Could be from a lot of different places. It wasn't a package with a fork though. But I use this to slice open people and extract their fat, which I use to cook my fish tacos in to deep fry them.
They reached a small stone structure built against the mountainside. Not a normal house. No windows. Just a metal door like a mine entrance. He said his equipment was inside, that he needed medicine for his leg. As they entered, Alicia felt a sharp pain in his neck. Like a wasp sting, but colder. My legs gave out immediately. I could see, hear, feel everything, but couldn't move a muscle. The stranger's demeanor changed completely. He moved with fluid efficiency, no sign of a limp, as he arranged Alicia on a metal table. The room was strange, clean like a city hospital, with bright lights that hurt my eyes. Glass jars lined one wall. Some contained yellowish liquid. Alicia watched in paralyzed horror as the man changed into what looked like surgical clothing and arranged gleaming metal tools on a small table. He spoke to me the whole time, but not like I was a...
This is super creepy. I like the story so far. This is very much like a suspenseful horror movie. I'm actually enticed by it. Damn it. So I put this little rose ring, there it goes. This ring on last night. Then I ate a whole bunch of pasta and my hands swell up. So now it's got like a little cut around my pinky. Kind of hurts. I love the ring though. It's a rose. But, ouch.
person, like I was livestock. He explained how healthy I was, how excellent my fat...
I don't know if it was a needle or the thing has a stinger. I don't know.
...that would be, how much he could extract without killing me immediately. The paralytic drug kept Alicia conscious but immobile as the stranger cut a precise line down his torso with a curved blade. The pain was... Alicia's voice faltered for the first time. There were no words, but I couldn't scream, couldn't even close my eyes. The Pishtaco had just begun to extract fat from the incision when something unexpected happened. Shouts and flashlight beams outside. My wife had grown worried when I didn't return home. She convinced my cousins to search for me. They had followed my tracks to the landslide.
Damn. How long were you gone for?
Stranger froze, listening to the voices outside. He seemed annoyed, not frightened. He quickly stitched me closed, Not completely, just enough to keep my insides from spilling out. Then he injected me with something else that made the world go black. Alicia woke 2 days later in his cousin's house, feverish and barely alive. They found me by the main trail, not near any building. My cousins insisted there were no structures where I described. The mining company denied any supervisor was inspecting that area.
It almost sounds like this could have been like organ harvesting in some level, like not actually a pistazo, but like someone trying to trick you into disappear. It's the waking up in a bathtub full of ice kind of story, right?
A local healer had treated his partially closed wound, fighting infection that nearly killed him. No official report was ever filed. Who would believe a Quechua miner over a mining company? I examined his scar more closely. The stitching pattern was unlike anything I'd seen in modern or traditional practice, more like integrated hooks than separate sutures. The healer who saved me said she had seen such wounds before, always on bodies found empty, missing their fat. I was the only living person she had treated with these marks. Alicio pulled his shirt down, his story complete. The doctors in the city later said I was attacked by thieves, that I hallucinated the rest from blood loss. The mine owners suggested I injured myself to claim...
You could have been attacked by thieves that were after your organs, though. That happens. I mean, not like it's not a common thing, I don't think, but at least not in like out in the mines, right? Out in the mountains, far from civilization. It's usually more of an urban kind of crime, but...
Compensation. He fixed me with an unwavering gaze. You are educated. You have traveled. Tell me, what kind of thief cuts a man open with surgical precision, begins removing his fat, then stitches him up before leaving? What kind of accident explains this scar? I had no answer then. I still don't today. After meeting Alicio, I shifted my research focus, documenting dozens of Pistazo encounter stories throughout the region. The details varied, but patterns emerged. Victims were typically alone in remote areas. The Pistazo appeared as someone plausibly belonging in the region, but not...
Yeah, like a traveler, but I'm just trying to make sure I stop enough and to not get a copyright strike.
Not locally known. They often claimed to need help, turning the victim's compassion against them. Modern accounts frequently mentioned unusual paralytic drugs and surgical precision that exceeded local medical capabilities. And survivors, the few who escaped before extraction, invariably faced skepticism from authorities and medical professionals. I completed my dissertation, but struggled to find academic support for publication. My advisor suggested removing the more sensationalist accounts and focusing on the Pistazo as metaphor rather than presenting encounter stories as potentially factual. I refused.
Well, I mean, it is a metaphor, right? You've acknowledged it's a metaphor for colonialism.
And remained stuck in adjunct positions while my more conventional colleagues advanced. Yet I couldn't abandon what I had learned. Each time a new medical extraction scandal emerges,
I wonder if pocket sand would work on a pistazo.
unauthorized collection of indigenous DNA, clinical trials conducted without proper consent, bioprospecting that exploits traditional knowledge. I see the Pistazo's shadow falling across the Andes. Last year, I received a package from Alicio's grandson. The old man had passed away, but he had left something for me, a small glass vial containing yellowish fluid. The note enclosed said simply, he found this among his things after he escaped. He kept it hidden all these years. He said you would know what to do with it. The university lab identified it as human adipose tissue preserved in an unknown solution. The preservation method doesn't match any standard medical technique, past or present. The DNA is human, but shows unexplained anomalies that the technicians couldn't categorize. I keep the vial locked in my desk drawer, unsure what to do with it. Sometimes,
I don't know, you could have somebody, like a professional, examine it.
at night, I find myself staring at the yellowish fluid catching the light, wondering if I'm looking at proof of something impossible or merely another layer of the mystery. All I know with certainty is that when I travel to Peru now, I never walk mountain paths alone after dark. Some warnings should be heeded, whether you believe in monsters or not.
All right.
I want to thank everyone who joined me for this episode of Freaky Folklore.
Yeah, we're going to stop that right there. But yeah, it's Freaky Folklore is the channel that we were watching. From EerieCast, I guess, if you're interested. I'm going to subscribe because I did enjoy the storytelling. And it looks like they cover a lot of the same kind of stuff I do. I don't necessarily love the format without any kind of visuals, but I can cover that in my editing to some extent. It makes me have to do more work, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. So yeah, I may have to revisit this. But let's I mean, there's a lot of deep history for the Pishtacos too. Anti-aging creams and all sorts of stuff. Yeah. So, I mean, getting an idea of what these creatures are, metaphorically, I guess is the best word to say, is it's pretty key to understanding the whole folklore around them. But what do you guys think about Pishtacos? Are they something that actually existed in history as some kind of underground trade system, actual monsters with shimmering eyes and stingers that paralyze you, and or just folk memory of the slave trade and forced labor and that sort of impact of colonialism on the indigenous populations? You let me know in the comments down below. You tell me how you feel about this. And yeah, and if you disagree with anything that if you disagree with anything that I've presented here, definitely argue with me in the comments, because I love to argue. I don't know if you know this about me, but I love to argue with people and have debates. Anyway, please remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you next time. Now, live from the Hive, audience, do not leave. Remember, don't go. Don't go. Because there's more show to come. This is just the first segment. Cryptic Corner is just whetting our appetite for the strange as we move through the timeline today. We're going to be going on explorations through the Sahara Desert in just a moment. You won't want to miss it. I'm going to take an intermission. I'm going to take a quick break. And then I will be back with our Weekend Weird, where we are discussing the Eye of the Sahara. And that's presented by Graham Hancock, of all people. So, you know, it's going to be a fun one. All right, don't leave. I will be back momentarily.
Did the evolutionists just kill a pterodactyl? Or did they finally catch up to the creationists?
Obviously, there's not going to be a ton of talk about these things. And the thing is, I do believe there was talk about these things. I believe if we study history, you know, the Confederates were able to shoot pterodactyls, you know, back in the Civil War. And they spread these things out. Anybody can look it up online. They spread these things out. And this is a historical fact. So, you know, they spread this thing out, and it's got a huge wing length. And it's a pterodactyl they shot. So, of course, these things have been around. Now, they went extinct, obviously, slowly, but surely. And so, I don't believe that just because, you know, at some point in time, coming from your perspective, that, you know, just because they stopped talking about it means that they never saw it, when we have all this evidence that they've seen it.
Hello, my name is John Pendleton, and I'm speaking to you from Zacatecas, Mexico, center of Mexico. And today I'm going to tell you of my project to attract and capture a real living pterodactyl dinosaur.
But to the Christian, it makes common sense. Of course, there could be a few still alive. That's the first sighting I've heard of in Fort Worth, Texas. I've heard of them in Arizona. A friend of mine knows where some of them live, and he's going to go catch them and put them in a dinosaur adventure land he's going to build. And I can't reveal the details yet.
They're a form of what people call pterodactyl, but if you consider them descended from some type of ramphorhynch or pterosaur.
All right, hello, my beauties and bees. I'm gonna keep it on. It looks cute. I think it looks cute. Hello. Welcome to our Week in Weird. This week, as presented earlier, we are covering the Eye of the Sahara, which is... I guess I should pull that up first. We're gonna... Yeah, okay, here we go. All right, so... Now I gotta do this. Is that it? Yeah, there we go. All right, so... This is what they call the Richet structure, or the Eye of the Sahara. It is a caldera in the western Sahara Desert. It can be seen from space. And it's pretty cool looking. It is pretty cool looking. You can... Can we see the picture? Well, dang it. I guess that's the picture it's talking about. We're going to save this location to the favorites, though, because it gets brought up a lot in the woo communities. But I digress. What we are going to do here is we're going to let this channel, The Unknown, which really likes Michio Makaku, apparently. Like, he's like their boy. Oh, there's Tucker Carlson, too, so you know it's legit. Elon Musk. Oh, my. Who else? We got more Tucker. More Michio. Lots of Michio. I guess that's supposed to be Musk, too. It doesn't really look like him, though. There's the premier of China. This is a news guy too. I can't remember his name. I don't really care about liberal news. Got some Neil deGrasse Tyson. Got Bill Nye. Throwing out the Bill Nye card. There's Michio crying. Oh my goodness. Him sad. But surprisingly, there's not a lot of Graham Hancock face here. Right? I was expecting more as I scrolled down through here. Because Graham Hancock is like the poster boy for this nonsense. But let's get this show on the road. This is Graham Hancock reveals sudden discovery under the eye of the Sahara Desert. I don't need an intro.
What's in the Sahara? This arid expanse is considered one of the planet's most dangerous regions.
Why did it highlight the Amazon there?
Beneath its surface, there are forgotten cities that thrived in a once lush and habitable Sahara, stretching across
with flying shark mechs, which that's important to remember. That was the best part of
region. The Sahara covers nearly
the best part of these ancient Sahara civilizations were the flying shark mechs that they had to hover over their cities. I'm currently covering the Ohio cryptids. Up next is on the Grassman is the Loveland Frog. Script needs some editing. I love the Loveland Frog. I want to boop his little snoot. Sometimes the Loveland Frog, sometimes there's 3 of them. Usually it's just 1, but he has like a magic wand or device or something in his hand that shoots sparks. Sometimes. We talked about Kent last night. Did you see that, Native Atheist? It was fun. It was me and Doc Dino, and we discussed the cult at Dinosaur Adventureland.
Higher northern section of Africa, encompassing approximately 3.5 million
Yeah, showing pictures of Arizona while talking about the Sahara. You gotta love it.
miles. While its size is impressive, it's what lies within the sands, which are more impressive. Among these secrets rests the remains of a colossal lake that existed in the Western Sahara approximately 250,000 years ago.
This is true.
Concealed deep within the layers of sand. In contrast to the desolate dunes of today, this region once hosted substantial bodies of water. Evidence gathered by scientific exploration points to this being true. The Nile River flowed into the ancient region known as Wadi Tushka in Egypt eons ago. During this time, the Sahara...
What's Egypt have to do with the Western Sahara, which is totally on the other side of the continent? This is like comparing something that happened in South Carolina and being like, yeah, so this is the reason why the Grand Canyon exists.
Was submerged beneath a colossal flood. The lake's size surpassed 42,000 square miles, making it the second largest lake in the world. About 250 miles from where the Nile's water flows today, scientists found ancient fish fossils hidden beneath the sands of the Sahara. This shows how far the vast mega lake
there's great fossil beds under the Sahara. There has been for millions of years. We have that's where Spinosaurus fossils come from, is the Sahara. There's also Basilosaurus, I believe, that lived in the shallow seas where the Sahara is. So, I mean, this doesn't have anything to do with civilization, though. These things happened before people. But there were people that lived in the Sahara when it was green. We don't know a lot about them. They left some cave art, right? So we know a little bit about their culture. They're hunter gatherers, and later era they were herders that herded goats. But as the Sahara dried out, they were absorbed into neighboring communities, abandoned the desert because there's no life to be had there. But we know that they existed, but they weren't advanced like civilizations. They were generally nomadic people living in a from Paleolithic. I think they were all the way up into the Mesolithic when the desert dried out, but I'm not sure, so I don't want to say that for sure.
Stretched across this region. Experts say that even ancient human remains have been discovered in the same area, confirming its connection to the ancient lake. This lake likely played a crucial role for our ancestors as they journeyed through this dry land. The only way people could have stayed in this desert region was if there had been a huge oasis-like place where they could rest by the abundant shores. This lake was likely an important rest stop for people moving out of Africa. Without this huge lake and the rivers that fed it,
that North Africa used to be dotted with lakes like northern Canada. It's really cool looking. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. That's not doing it. Well, here's the article showing the different. Yeah, let me show you guys this real quick because this is the cave art and stuff I was talking about. Like people swimming and jumping in the water and stuff for these ancient lakes, right? But yeah, here we go. This is the African humid period. This big lake right here. All these lakes would have been important and part of human migration, right, out of Africa. They would have been very important. There's Lake Victoria down there. This lake's the biggest. I think they call this Lake Chad. Captive desk, thank you. Yeah, I'm a bit older than Marilyn was when she checked out. I'll tell you that right now. I'm 6 years older than Marilyn was. So someone called me young Norma Jean, which I thought was funny. Hey, Dr. Tapioca Weasel's here. Chad means lake. Yeah, well, so people did move out of Africa. This is believed to have been a major migration route, Gibraltar up here. You can see the other land across the way. Aw, appreciate you, Dave. If you bring your $5 on Friday nights when I'm doing Charlatans Web, I take shots. I take alien shots for every $5. So I'm getting more and more hammered the longer we have to muddle through whoever the charlatan we're dealing with is, and I might get a little belligerent. About them. I do. I wasn't friendly to Kent Hovind last night. By the third shot. But yeah, so this was an important migration route. People were also coming from down here, and they would have been crossing here. But yeah, anyway.
People might not have crossed the Sinai Peninsula and reached the Middle East. From there, they spread across the world. Having this mega lake and humans venturing beyond the Sahara might have been good for the Earth overall. Beneath the Sahara's sandy surface, there's an astonishing...
I don't think humans leaving Africa was good for the Earth at all, like in any way, shape, or form. I think it's one of the worst things that's ever happened since meteor, or since maybe the Great Dying, or the yeah, it's a pretty terrible extinction event that happened when humans burst forth from Africa. Not loving it.
Array of human-made structures and objects. And even the mythical city of Atlantis might have some truth to it. It all concerns the famous Eye of the Sahara, the Richat structure. Recent evidence shows signs of human activity near the Richat structure in the Western Sahara, raising intriguing possibilities. Richat structure. The Richat structure is truly fascinating. It resembles how Plato described Atlantis, with its rings spreading out from the center, but looks can be deceiving. While the Richat structure can seem man-made, it is in fact a natural formation, not something human.
Ember is honorary weasel this week. The week of the honorary weasels.
It's built. The layers of rock between the rings have been revealed due to erosion along a geological feature called a domed anticline. This shape was formed...
Oh, okay. People are paying to know what we got on Bad Science Sunday this week, Maya. People are paying $10 to know what you have in store with Ember tomorrow. Tomorrow. So you got to spill. I'm getting paid for it. I'm getting paid for you to spill. Let's see. We did a break job last night, but I watched you and Doc this morning, Brie. Yeah, we had fun. Yeah, we made the dinosaurs go extinct, FFS, with all the sin-eating magic apples 6,000 years ago. Of course. Native atheists, fuckery and shenanigans. I believe those are your favorite things, native atheists. If I remember correctly, when you sang raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, fuckery and shenanigans. Yeah. Uh-huh.
When a volcano erupted in the past and the magma cooled, creating this structure. The concentric rings we see today were shaped as the magma solidified and eroded. The outer rings of rock in this structure are the oldest, and each inner ring gets younger as you move toward the center. Even though the Richat structure in the Sahara Desert spans about 28 miles and consists of both igneous and sedimentary rocks, the big question is whether it might have been the real Atlantis. The Richat structure is in
the real Atlantis, y'all. Atlantis. There's nothing. The Atlantis sounds like the newspaper that they would print in Atlanta, in the city of Atlantis. It'd be like the city newspaper. The Atlantis. The Atlantis.
The African country of Mauritania. The main issue with linking it to Atlantis is Plato's description of Atlantis being submerged by the sea. However, the Sahara is a desert, so there's not much water to cause flooding. But it's important to remember that the Sahara wasn't always a dry desert. The Sahara used to look very different in the past.
That's true, right? There were big lakes and stuff, and it was a different a different habitat, but this was before metropolitan empires and stuff. It was when there were mostly nomadic hunter-gatherer folk, maybe some pastoral folk.
It's possible that an ancient civilization within the Richat structure was flooded by a large body of water in the area. This idea might have inspired the Atlantis story, with Plato potentially exaggerating parts of it for effect. But for the Richat structure to be confirmed as Atlantis, human remains would need to be found. Sadly, the region is unsafe due to political unrest, making extensive excavations impossible. Additionally, the remote location poses challenges for reaching the site. This has hindered archaeologists from launching major expeditions.
In the middle of the Sahara is kind of a hard spot to reach. I'm not going to disagree with you there. Oh, there we go.
To explore the structure of artifacts or buildings. Graham Hancock, who studies archaeology, shares his understanding of the challenge.
Does Graham Hancock really study archaeology, though? Like, is that what you call it? Is that pseudo-archaeology would be a better term? Maybe?
Challenges facing researchers investigating the Sahara. He points out that there are 3 parts of the world where archaeological investigation is lacking. One is the vast Amazon rainforest, with limited exploration due to its immense size. The second is the Sahara Desert, which, despite its challenges, was green during the Ice Age, suggesting untold stories. The third is under continental shelves, where rising sea levels have obscured potential archaeological sites. 3 areas have seen limited archaeological investigation due to resource allocation. Researchers often prioritize marine archaeology for shipwreck discovery instead of seeking signs of lost civilizations. This stance...
What? You mean people look for ships that we know sank instead of magical kingdoms hidden under the sea? You say it ain't so.
...is based on the belief that no such civilizations existed. The same holds for the Amazon rainforest and the Sahara Desert, regions that hold immense archaeological potential but have been overlooked. These places, often neglected by those tasked with interpreting history, may actually hold vital insights, at least according to Hancock. Recently, technology has made significant advancements.
At least according to Hancock, as if that's a reliable source, right?
Archaeologists can now conduct surveys without physically being on site. Satellites play a pivotal role in this new approach, allowing for remote investigation and exploration. Atlantis. The quest to locate Atlantis, the lost civilization, has led to various suggested locations.
Henry Jones Jr. is Indiana Jones, right? Yeah, it belongs in a museum. He's more of a tomb raider than an archaeologist, but yeah, Graham Hancock isn't even that, so I guess you're right in that perspective. It belongs in a museum.
Locations, spanning from the Sahara Desert to the Antarctic, and various points in between.
Yeah, what about Antarctica? Why don't you search for signs of Atlantis under Antarctica?
Theories have pinpointed potential Atlantis sites, the Mediterranean, the Spanish coast, and even under Antarctica. Virtually every spot on the map has been proposed as Atlantis. The Richat structure, often cited as a candidate, showcases peculiarities like foundations of ancient structures and Stone Age tools. Some prehistoric artifacts.
Are you sure? You just said that there were no remains of humans there.
Have been found there. Although concrete evidence of an advanced Atlantean society within the Richat structure is lacking, the presence of early humans is captivating. While this idea encounters
primitive humans, like I just showed you the pictures of the pictographs that they made and stuff from around their ancient lakes. There were people there in the region, but they weren't a lost magical civilization, I don't think.
Skepticism from archaeologists and scholars, many individuals believe the concentric rings align with Plato's description of Atlantis in his Timaeus dialogues. Around 360 BC, Plato narrated the Atlantis tale. Its founders were part divine, part human, building an ideal society and a formidable naval force. The city consisted of circular islands separated by...
The fact that, he said, hey, they were part gods should give you be a red flag, right? That's a red flag. Say, hey, maybe this is mythology.
Wide water channels connected by a central canal. According to Plato, Atlantis was a lush archipelago rich in gold, silver, precious metals, and unique wildlife. Its central island housed a magnificent capital city. Plato dated Atlantis' existence to about 9,000 years before his era, citing sources like poets and priests. However, his works remain the sole records of this legendary city. The consensus among scholars is that Atlantis is a myth. Plato employed the Atlantis narrative as a rhetorical device, a moral tale where virtuous Athenians triumph over...
Right. Again, but the idea that it's a work of fiction is not like speculate. Oh, so they a story and speculate that it's a work of fiction. No, we know it's a work of fiction. It's and it is a sort of common tale of early man. It's a story of vice and fallen kingdoms and things like that. You got the flood myths and from various cultures. Some places flooded with blood. Some places flooded with beer. Atlantis is not unique in that aspect. But there's other factors that come into play. These were, again, if you look at the history of these, the people that lived in this region, right? They would have had seasonal flooding like the Nile has now, or like the Tigris and the Indus did in ancient times. I'm a heretic, I know, Maya.
An evil empire, ultimately eradicated by...
How dare I call into question the claims of Saint Graham?
By divine wrath. Most experts argue that Plato never intended it as a literal account. One of the reasons for this is that Plato was the only person to mention this 9000-year-old city at the time. Furthermore, his contemporaries didn't view his Atlantis description as factual. They recognized it as a literary device. A key argument for it...
The molasses flood of Boston was a thing. Was it slow? Was the flood slow? Because you expect the molasses to be slow.
Atlantis' existence is the similarity between the Richat structure's concentric rings and Plato's description. The alignment, however, only extends to the ring patterns, a resemblance not uncommon in nature. Numerous natural processes like impact craters can lead to concentric formations. Notably, the Richat structure is not an impact crater, but rather an eroded magma dome. But it is a natural structure that doesn't
it's like a caldera.
Contradict the existence of Atlantis. Some suggest that the Atlanteans might not have constructed the Richat structure, but rather integrated their city within the natural contours of the formation. Plato also mentioned a canal that connected the rings of Atlantis, yet no such canal is evident in the Richat structure. The Richat structure may fit Plato's description of 14 miles, but it's difficult to ascertain what exactly is the outermost edge of the structure. NASA's measurements
if you can't decide what's the outermost edge of it, how do you know it's 14 miles? Let's see. Just catching up on the chat. Eventually he'll see something shiny and run off in that direction. Are we talking about Dr. Tapioca Weasel? It was a major and more than a little hilarious tragedy, just calling how I see it. Well.
Determined the size of the structure to be 28 miles long, 14 miles short of Plato's description. Existing evidence indicates that the Sahara Desert had formed several million years ago, and there's no proof that this region of Western Africa was underwater merely thousands of years ago, but it was once green and lush, full of grasslands, forests, lakes, and even rivers. Plato described an advanced and sizable city.
Like that in even rivers, and rivers, not and even. I mean, rivers are there. Let's see. It was heated molasses stored in a huge tower that was poorly built. It flowed rather fast, all things considered. Okay. I would imagine the molasses was slower than a water flood, but faster than its victims would have liked. That sounds reasonable. also in the wrong direction from Plato's description. Is that the... you got to be more clear on that. I'm not sure which part you're talking about there. I feel attacked. Did y'all hide the magnet in my bedroom? Hide magnets in my bedroom? I might have implanted magnets into your spinal column while you were sleeping. That could have happened.
But there's no archaeological evidence supporting a city's existence within the Richat structure 12,000 years ago. No remains of a city's worth of artifacts or Atlantean technology have been found. What has been discovered are notable accumulations of Acheulean artifacts, especially along the outermost annular depression of the structure. Acheulean artifacts refer to tools used by early humans. Archaic humans, such as Homo erectus, used these tools as far back as 1.78.
So are you claiming that Atlantis was populated by Homo erectus? That'd be badass. It'd be like Planet of the Apes, kinda.
8 million years ago. But they weren't the only users, of course. Pre-Acheulean tools have also been found. Neolithic artifacts, though sparse and scattered, have also been uncovered. However, within the innermost depressions of the structure, artifacts are generally absent. The absence of recognizable man-made structures or midden deposits suggests that the Richat structure may have been used primarily for short-term hunting and tool production. We won't be able to...
Time period you're talking about, that's who would have lived there, so yeah. Hunter-gatherer people.
Figure out more unless we conduct more extensive research and significant excavation efforts within the Richat structure. Where else? If Atlantis isn't in the Sahara, then where else?
Atlantis.
In a Netflix series called Ancient Apocalypse, presented by author Graham Hancock, it's proposed that an advanced culture was destroyed by floods caused by a huge comet's impact on Earth. This disaster is believed to have inspired the Atlantis legend. According to Hancock, survivors of this catastrophe spread worldwide, sharing knowledge of science, technology,
because they were hyper advanced. They had like super crystal technology and stuff. It was really, really weird. And maybe they destroyed themselves with vibrating crystals. We don't know.
Culture and grand buildings with simple hunter-gatherer societies. He suggests that we owe much...
What did Al do? Why does John Hudson hate Al?
...to these exceptional individuals. Hancock's ideas have been in his books for a long time. He accuses mainstream academia of being overly defensive and dismissive of his views. Archaeologists criticize Ancient Apocalypse for lacking solid evidence to back its claims. They don't hate Hancock. They just strongly disagree with him. As for Atlantis' possible location, many experts lean toward the theory...
Let's look, Ember. So, the Pillars of Hercules. Okay, so... that's up here in the Strait of Gibraltar. So beyond the Pillars of Hercules. Maybe a little bit. You think south would be south, like they'd say south beyond the Pillars. But there's nothing else out here. Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Think it could have been in the Mid-Atlantic Ridge right here? Lost continent? I don't think it was real at all, but, you know. So be it. Lost my place, hold on. There we go.
That the Greek island of Santorini's destruction and its impact on Crete could be the origin of the Atlantis story. They attribute the catastrophe to volcanic eruptions, not wandering comets. Moreover, while Ancient Apocalypse suggests the destruction happened 12,000 years ago, most alternative views...
I'm more prone to accept that Atlantis was based loosely around the Miocene? Miocene? Is that the Minotaur people that lived on Crete, the fall of their civilization, maybe a splash of Pompeii.
To around 1630 BC, when Santorini exploded in an incredibly violent volcanic event. This explosion, hurling massive amounts of rock into the atmosphere, caused massive tsunamis and ash showers that likely devastated the thriving Minoan civilization on Crete. In the first episode of
There it is.
Ancient Apocalypse, Graham Hancock provides an intriguing piece of evidence for the existence of Atlantis. He cites the Bimini Road as the road to Atlantis. Bimini Road is a submerged rock formation.
Bimini Road is also has tectonic origins and is, I believe, laid down by a lava flow.
And located off the coast of the Bahama island of North Bimini. The road is about 18 feet below the surface of the water and consists of limestone blocks in interesting shapes. Some are rectangular, others are polygonal, and some are entirely
they're
irregular.
limestone? We'll have to do the Bimini Road at some point.
At first sight, it's obvious that these structures are man-made. But once again, nature works in mysterious ways that deceive us. These structures may not look natural, but it's possible they are. This is a phenomenon known as tessellated pavement. The most commonly occurring version of this phenomenon consists of flat rock surfaces, made up of sandstones or other sedimentary rocks. Some are rectangles, while some are close to being rectangular. This is caused by cracks in
Some are rectangles, while some are close to being rectangular. Okay. This reminds me of also the Giant's Causeway in Ireland.
Rock, known as joints, which result in a pattern. These joints are also called orthogonal joint systems because of the fact that they intersect at 90-degree angles. A good example of this intriguing phenomenon is the Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland, which consists of about 40,000 interlocking basalt columns. So
Speak and get my answer. This is also makes up the like the Devil's Tower in was that in Colorado, Wyoming? The monument, Devil's Tower monument, the caldera out there is made of the same kind of basalt structures, and that's why people think it's a giant tree trunk.
Bimini Road may likely be another example of tessellated pavement rather than a man-made road leading to the hidden ancient city of Atlantis. But what's the general consensus in the scientific world on the existence of Atlantis? Turns out, little to no scientists believe in the existence of this city. Robert Ballard is an ocean explorer responsible for discovering the wreck of the Titanic in 1985. He has said that no experts or Nobel Prize winners have ever taken what Plato has said about Atlantis at face value.
Wyoming,
While we're
Devil
uncertain
Tower,
about the existence of Atlantis, there's undeniable proof of the existence of other ancient civilizations in the
famed tower from the Close Encounters of the Third Kind movie. So you see aliens there. Here's Johnny Depp playing a Native American.
Sahara region. A lost ancient civilization. Countless archaeological digs in the Sahara have uncovered remarkable artifacts from various periods of human history. These excavations have greatly improved our understanding of the past civilizations that thrived in the Sahara region. Remarkable discoveries have unveiled ancient cultures' castles in the sand in the Sahara. Utilizing satellites, researchers have located buried treasures in the hard-to-reach parts of Libya's Sahara. They've revealed traces of the Garamantes civilization, previously believed to be lost. These people built massive forts and settlements in the desert.
I don't think that looks like a lost African civilization. Those look like Vikings or something. We're continuing with the rest of the video from last week's Bad Science Sunday, Weasel. It's a crossover. Paul Bunyan's Last Cut Tree, Devil's Tower. Exactly.
Impressively dating back thousands of years. The communities date back to approximately 1 to 500 CE, but they were ruled by the Garamantes civilization, a civilization that existed from around the 2nd century BC to the 7th century CE, and they were quite advanced for their time. The Garamantes left behind walled towns, villages, and farms, which researchers identified through modern satellite images, including high-resolution pictures commonly used in the oil industry. Aerial photos taken during the 1950s and 1960s also aided in this discovery. These fortified sites, located around 620 miles south.
Why is the claim that the Garamonte Society was Atlantean or
of Tripoli, were confirmed through the examination of pottery samples collected during an expedition in early 2011. Unfortunately, This field trip was shortened by the civil war that led to the end of Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi's 42-year regime. Evidence points towards the existence of a robust ancient African kingdom in the Sahara Desert, hidden beneath...
I'm sure there were lots of civilizations and cities and city-states and things like that, and in parts of the Sahara, or what's under desert now that we're green. The Sahara is still growing, right? Desertification is still happening. It's enveloping kingdoms as we speak. But for the most part, what you're finding in the eye of the Sahara sounds like it's from primitive Paleolithic people.
Its sands. Even though the sands have concealed the settlements, researchers found pottery, tools, and artifacts indicating the existence of a powerful native African kingdom. Remarkably, the sites still contain walls reaching 10 to 13 feet in height, despite slight slumping caused by wind erosion. What surprised scientists was the concentration of these sites. They are closely grouped, featuring forts, cemeteries, and agricultural fields within a small area. This clustering...
Surprised by this, again, Africa is the cradle of humankind, right? It's where people come from. Of course, there's going to be civilizations on top of civilizations buried under thousands of years. Do you like paintball better than laser tag, Kip? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
Highlights the kingdom's substantial population. The Garamantes people, as they are known, demonstrated advanced skills in urban planning, metallurgy, textile production, and even had their own writing system. As archaeologists delve deeper into the Garamantes sites, their findings become more astonishing. The well-structured linear construction could have been mistaken for Roman frontier forts, but these sites stand beyond the Roman Empire's borders. They mark the existence of a potent native African kingdom. Despite the desert environment...
Every time they say African kingdom, they show pictures of Atlantis. They're trying to insist that there was an ancient Atlantis in Africa that apparently were white people. Of course they were white people.
Challenges, the Garamantes displayed adept water extraction techniques, supporting large populations in an arid region. This discovery shows how advanced their civilization was, and their ability...
Humans have been digging wells for tens of thousands of years, y'all. Come on.
...to thrive in a demanding landscape. This advanced civilization turned isolated oases in the Sahara Desert into thriving homes and trade routes. They used smart irrigation to make the desert fertile, but they may have overestimated how many people the desert could...
How much damage does a Class 4 laser do, Dr. Tapioca Weasel? What kind of wild experimentations are you doing? Should we worry about you becoming a supervillain at this point?
Sustain. Pumping water from the ground to create lush fields, they eventually used up all the water. Rainfall wasn't enough to refill it, and the underground stores dried out completely. With no water, their civilization crumbled. They couldn't grow crops like wheat, figs, and grapes anymore. Seeking water, many ventured into the desert. Some may have reached the Nile Delta in search of wetter land. Many may have died on the way or in sandstorms that covered their civilization. The potential for finds. Despite the harsh desert, people lived there and traded between settlements to survive. Even big empires like Egypt wanted valuable things from the Sahara, but mistakes happened when moving expensive metals.
Egypt is on the opposite side of the continent. I can't make that any more clear.
Spices, and luxury items. Timbuktu was an important stop for trading across the Sahara Desert. People used to launch big trips from there carrying things like salt and gold, but these trips were risky. There wasn't much food and water.
About Timbuktu to this day. Yeah, it's a far-off place on the edge of civilization.
And the desert itself was dangerous. Throughout history, groups of thieves would wait to attack traders passing by on their routes. Traders were tired from their journey, and if they didn't have good protection, thieves would kill them and...
Sand people. That's who the Sand people are based on in Star Wars.
...steal their valuables. Sometimes, huge dust storms would come and last for hours, covering everything in dust that could be thousands of feet high. These storms could wipe...
That happens here, too. Like, regularly. We were having massive dust storms every 3 to 5 days for about 2 months. It was insane. Never seen so much dust in my life. I'm still picking dust out of my crack.
Wipe out whole groups of traders. In these conditions, it was easy for a group to get lost in the desert and turn back. Many valuable things like gold and gems have been lost in the desert over time. Finding these treasures in the vast desert would be really hard. But if luck is on someone's side, there could be unimaginable riches under the sand.
Who wants to go treasure hunting in the Sahara? Let's do it.
The Saharan surface. But not everything is lost. The Valley of the Kings holds some of the most precious and amazing things from the Sahara. 3,000-year-old lost golden city. Archaeologists have even discovered a lost golden city in the Egyptian sands outside Luxor.
What's this have to do with the Eye of the Sahara? This says, the title of this video is Graham Hancock reveals sudden discovery under the eye of the Sahara Desert, and you're in Egypt, on the other side of the continent. To be clear, yeah, let's look at this. So, this is way over here, almost, close to the West Coast. Not on the West Coast, but Egypt is way over here in the Valley of the Kings. This is sort of the pyramids and stuff that I got marked here. But it's all the way across the continent. And that's a huge distance. That's like, again, I compared it to the Grand Canyon in the Carolinas. It's that far. It's further than that, actually. It'd be more like California to Virginia of a distance. It's huge.
Valley of the Kings. It's been claimed as Egypt's grandest find yet. This historical treasure traces back to a thriving era of pharaohs 3,000 years ago. The journey to unearth this city commenced in September 2020 between the temples of Ramses III and Amenhotep III. With the passing weeks, formations of
clickbaity title with the... it did cover that, I guess.
Mud bricks began to emerge, revealing the well-preserved city with its intact walls and chambers filled with tools. After digging for 7 months, they found different parts of the city, like a bakery with ovens and storage pots, and areas for living and doing official work. The research team announced the discovery of a city spanning 3 millennia. The city's origins can be traced to the reign of Amenhotep III, extending through Tutankhamun and
Would that be Amenhotep III, not the 3? Amenhotep III.
These eras. The magnitude of this find is unprecedented.
Oh my.
It is regarded as the largest ancient city ever found in Egypt. This discovery is as important as when excavators found the tomb of Tutankhamun roughly a century ago. Among the treasures are ornate jewelry, colored pottery vessels, protective scarab beetle amulets, and mud bricks inscribed with seals of Amenhotep III. Amenhotep
III. Oh my goodness. He's going to keep saying that, isn't he? I think it's just Amenhotep, right? It's not Amenhotep. It's, you say it Amenhotep. I think. I don't speak Egyptian, but I know from watching The Mummy and stuff that Emotep is, you say Emotep, so Amenhotep III.
Who lived around 1354 BC, had a big empire that stretched from Iraq to Sudan. Amenhotep III built many grand things during his almost 40-year rule as king, such as the giant statues known as the Colossi of Memnon. Even though it has been thousands of years, the possessions of the city seemed remarkably young. Like they were left there yesterday, this city also gives us a glimpse of how the Egyptians lived at the peak of their empire, at the height of their luxury. There still may be more to find in this city, such as tombs filled with treasures. They have found tombs already, after all.
Does this have to do with the Eye of the Sahara?
And they're similar to the ones found in the Valley of the Kings. Valley of the Kings. Many Egyptian kings and high priests from the
This is Egypt.
18th to...
Hold on.
th dynasty.
I guess this is really just a video about the wonders of the Sahara.
Were buried in the Valley of the Kings. Their tombs in the Eastern Sahara were filled with beautiful art, gold statues, and valuable gems, along with their bodies. Most of these tombs have been robbed and ransacked, along with being...
Yeah, it's definitely an AI narrator. I thought you said you murdered AI, Sumami. Your smut was too powerful.
Ruined. But the desert is vast, and so are its mysteries. It was thanks to the Niles River that the ancient Egyptian dynasties had so much power and wealth in this region.
The Niles River.
This lifeline nourished their civilization by granting access to water and fertile silt, propelling their progress and prosperity. Surprisingly close to modern Cairo, the pyramids of Giza seem to gradually merge with the Saharan sands. Egypt's expansive deserts house an array of temples and pyramids. These constructions hold great significance, offering secure burial sites for the esteemed pharaohs who rejected the idea of common graves. The result was a landscape adorned with intricate structures, both a showcase of Egypt's might and sanctuaries for the worship of gods. The Temple of Hatshepsut was constructed by Thutmose I's daughter, Hatshepsut.
Thutmose. All right, I'm disappointed that this video just took a left turn and stopped talking about the Eye of the Sahara. Do they have a follow-up video or a playlist? The Sahara is not what we've been told.
For decades, the Eye of the Sahara has baffled scientists. A massive spiral in the desert with secrets buried deep beneath its sands.
Are you baffled by a volcano caldera? Does that baffle you, Hive?
For the first time, a quantum computer has helped unlock those secrets. Using entangled photons and AI-powered sensors, researchers have captured stunning images of what lies below. Ancient riverbeds, lost landscapes, and possible signs of early human life. This isn't science fiction, it's a real breakthrough in quantum sensing.
Quantum
Today,
sensing,
we reveal how
which should be sensing across time.
Cutting-edge technology finally pierced the surface of one of Earth's oldest mysteries. What they found beneath the eye will change how we see the past. The quantum frontier meets the desert.
The cornea of the Sahara is what they found, right? The cornea. There's a crystal city.
The Sahara stretches endlessly, a sea of heat and silence. Beneath it,
the Sahara factually does not stretch endlessly. I'm going to be pedantic as hell now because I'm annoyed at their last video. The Sahara has defined limits. It's not endless.
Its golden skin, however, lie forgotten rivers, buried stone, and traces of lives long erased by time. To reach them, we didn't bring shovels. We brought quantum light. In this experiment, we paired one of the world's most ancient landscapes with one of science's most cutting-edge technologies. The machine wasn't large or loud. It was quiet, floating on drone wings, carrying cold photon emitters and diamond-threaded sensors. From above, it scanned the ground, not with sound or radar, but with particles of light, entangled, paired, and precisely tuned. These photons could sense shifts in gravity.
Oh, this is kind of cool.
And magnetic fields as they pass through sand and stone.
I'm listening.
They don't just bounce, they whisper through matter, said one physicist.
What? That sounds like a metaphor. What does that mean?
The core idea is this. Quantum particles can be linked in such a way that what happens to one affects the other, no matter the distance. That connection lets us read incredibly subtle differences in what lies beneath the surface. Unlike radar, which needs a clear reflection, or seismic waves that need impact, this is non-invasive.
There are mountains to freak. If that place was a magma outlet or, I don't know, WE, they would call it, there'd be mountains around it. Yeah, it's in the mountains. See the mountains? This is all mountains. I don't know if I can drop down there and show you how mountainous this area is. But it's mountains. We're like on the side of a mountain here. It's montane. Yeah, a mountain range. It looks like it runs all the way up to here. And there's more down here. Very mountainous. Oh. Looks mountainous to me. Yeah, look at that. Mountains. Yeah, there's mountains. What are you talking about, canyons? I live in mountains mountains that look very similar to this. I live in the Franklin Mountains. This is a mountainous terrain. Yeah. Definitely. That is so cool though, how you see the desert meet the mountains like that and the dune sea out there. Beautiful. Quite beautiful. Oh.
This colossal...
Is that the one we were just watching? Here we go.
It's quiet, delicate. You could call it a kind of quantum touch. From this fusion, we unlocked a new vision of the desert, not just its surface, but what's buried underneath. These weren't just blurred images or heat maps.
They showed the picture of the rocks that scoot. I don't think that's in the Sahara though.
They were fine outlines of ancient trenches, the ghost of a riverbed, possible sites where people may have once lived. In the words of the lead field engineer, we weren't just seeing into the sand, we were seeing through time. Now that you've seen the desert from a new lens, you might ask, what actually makes this machine work? What turns particles
I'm actually
into
more
sensors?
interested in what you're going to claim
To
it
answer that,
found.
we need to take a step back and look at the stitching data from multiple passes into one coherent image. Think of it like building a sculpture from slices. Next chapter begins not with theory, but with action. The first quantum scans of the Eye of the Sahara.
Okay.
The
Took
Sahara
8
experiment.
minutes.
What happened? The Eye of the Sahara, also known as the Rishat structure, was chosen for a reason. It's a massive ancient formation, 20 miles wide, etched with concentric rings of rock. Scientists suspect it holds traces of old rivers, maybe even early human activity, but its true subsurface structure has remained.
If there were bodies of water in there, then I don't disagree that there could have been reservoirs. Maybe seasonal, maybe reservoirs that had a cycle of filling and draining.
Hidden until now. Over several days, the drone flew tight spirals above the site, scanning layer by layer. It gathered terabytes of quantum imaging data, subtle shifts in magnetic and gravitational fields.
This is why Dr. Tapioca Weasel is here. Did you hear what they just said? I better turn on the closed captions. Magnetic and gravitational fields. Those are the same thing, right, Dr. Tapioca Weasel? Gravity is magnets, right? That's the science. That's what science says.
Scattered photon returns, echoes and noise that AI would later clean up. Unlike traditional surveys, this wasn't guesswork. The data painted something real and textured. And then the layers came into focus. The team saw what appeared to be ancient drainage systems, channels long buried beneath desert dust. There were signs of sedimentary patterns, consistent with flowing water. In some areas, narrow trenches suggested
it's okay for this to have had water in it.
Fossilized streams, possibly part of a much wider prehistoric network. The most surprising finds were symmetrical depressions, circles, ovals, rectangular shapes too organized to be natural. They could
really?
be hunting camps, tent bases, or foundations of temporary dwellings. They were faint, like shadows on the past, said.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, what's the big deal about nomadic people living in this area? It still doesn't mean it was Atlantis.
The lead analyst. But they were there, and they weren't random. This wasn't the first time we tried to see beneath the sands.
This could have been where the kaiju fought, though, like I said. It doesn't have to be a volcano. It could be where Godzilla and Ghidorah, like monsters, battled it out for supremacy in primordial times. Totally.
In fact, NASA's space shuttles once scanned deserts using radar from orbit. But quantum tools offer something those missions never could: resolution at the human scale. Next, we'll look back at those earlier efforts and how they led us to this moment. Historical radar precedents. Back in 1981, NASA's space shuttle carried an experiment called Sahara, a radar system designed to peer through desert sand. What it found was stunning. Entire buried river valleys in Egypt, invisible from above. It was the first.
This is super cool. I actually like this video a lot better. I mean, it's a lot more informative, and it's kind of telling you like, hey, we're using this new technology to scan the desert to see what the Green Sahara looked like, which is neat. Still not buying the Atlantis thing though.
Glimpse of a hidden Sahara, an ancient landscape preserved beneath the dunes. But radar has its limits. It scatters, it weakens with depth, and it struggles in certain soil types. Quantum sensors, in contrast, rely on fundamental particle properties, not surface reflection. That means they can detect deeper features with far more precision, and they're less sensitive to environmental noise. Since then, remote sensing has come far. Airborne LiDAR, hyperspectral imaging,
I just don't think that's
and
what we're
magnetic
looking
surveys
for.
have
I
been
want
used
to
for
their
archaeology,
extraordinary claims.
geology,
Let's do
and mineral
that.
prospecting. But quantum imaging, expensive, fragile, and complex. Building drones with cryocooling systems, diamond sensors, and AI brains.
See, there was another video. What scientists just uncovered under the eye of the Sahara. Same thumbnail though. Joe Rogan just announced a shocking discovery. Joe Rogan, you gotta trust that when Joe Rogan.
Oh, this is so weird. Oh my
that.
God, they're so
no.
strange. Such a strange animal.
What animal? Ah! Ooh, that's pretty.
Something has happened in the Sahara that has upended everything the world previously believed. Joe Rogan just announced a shocking discovery under the eye of the Sahara.
Joe Rogan should be everybody's news source, right?
The mysterious elliptical circle in the middle of the desert that astronauts can spot from space holds the secrets of the universe. How much do we know about it?
Now we're cooking.
Even though the Sahara is the most studied desert, it's also the toughest habitat to survive in.
Studied desert. What? Let me play that again.
From space holds the secrets of the universe. How much do we know about it? Even though the Sahara is the most studied desert, it's also the toughest habitat to survive in. What have the researchers discovered? What did Joe Rogan announce? Join us as we revel in the mystery of the Eye of Sahara and discover its truths. Massive sea creatures. The world's largest hot desert was submerged underwater between 50 to 100 million years ago.
Mm-hmm,
A shocking yet fascinating discovery led to this conclusion. During this period, the region had large species of catfish, sea snakes, and different poisonous fishes. Maureen O'Leary, a professor of
freaking dinosaurs
of anatomical sciences at the Renaissance School of Medicine at Stony Brook University, collaborated with researchers from the US, Australia, and Mali to present the first reconstructions of some of these extinct species found in the Sahara. The research was based on almost 2 decades of field research in the toughest terrain of the Sahara Desert, and it shows some interesting findings. The findings
Joe Rogan is like the manosphere Jesus. They get really defensive of him too.
Point towards the fact that once a saltwater body used to traverse West Africa when sea levels were elevated. This elevation of the sea level was a result of the breakup of the supercontinent Gondwana in the late Mesozoic era. Remarkably, more than 40% of the Sahara Desert was submerged underwater. The same areas are now nothing but arid deserts. This trans-Saharan
people weren't around back then.
Seaway was a warm body of shallow waters that reached into the current Sahara Desert. It was responsible for harboring diverse ancient species. These species include large sea snakes, mollusk-crushing fishes.
You just showed a... Okay, so you showed a desert snake when you said sea snakes. Was kind of weird, but I think this is Dickinsonia, which... which would have been way before any of this. That looks like Dickinsonia, which is like Ediacaran life.
Snouted crocodilians and catfish. But why were the species so gigantic? The research has shown that fluctuations in the size and geography of the sea must have created what we call islands of water. This would have provided the conditions required for species to
Islands of water? You mean lakes?
enlarge. This research adds to our understanding of the Sahara Desert and establishes the fact that a sea once flowed through the Sahara. However, it has one more implication that supports the idea Joe Rogan has presented. Before we get to that, it's important for us to understand the origin and structure of the Eye of the Sahara. Geology of the Eye. Formerly known as the Richat structure, the Eye of the Sahara is a remarkable and mysterious geological formation. The main characteristics of this formation are fascinating, with high symmetry, elliptical shape, and extensive erosion.
It's magical.
This eye takes the shape of a dome with a diameter of 25 miles. This dome consists of sedimentary rock.
Or 14 miles, depending on which one of your videos we're watching.
But these are no ordinary rocks. The rocks in the center belong to the late Proterozoic, and the periphery is filled with Ordovician sandstone. The differential erosion of the tough quartzite layers gives rise to visible and prominent circular cuestas, which are essentially steep slopes, whereas the central region, which covers almost 19 miles of area, with its diameter is covered with siliceous breccia, coarse-grained fragmented rocks. Now, the interior of the Eye of the Sahara has a variety of intrusive and extrusive igneous rocks. These rocks include rhyolitic volcanic rocks, gabbros, carbonatites, and kimberlites.
So yeah, there we go. It's a volcano. It is a volcano. It's a caldera.
One of these rocks, the rhyolitic rocks, contain lava flows and have hydrothermally altered volcanic ash. The researchers have also found two eruptive centers which they believe are the remnants of eroded volcanic craters. This mysterious formation has been field mapped, and the aeromagnetic data shows that gabbroic rocks form two concentric ring dikes. The inner dike is situated 3 kilometers away from the structure's center.
I love me a good ring dike.
And is 20 meters wide. On the other hand, the outer ring dike is 50 meters in width, and it is located 7 to 8 kilometers from the center. Apart from these two dikes, the Eye of the Sahara contains more than 30 carbonatite dikes and sills. Each of these is almost 300 meters in length and 1 to 4 meters wide. But here's the interesting part. These dikes contain massive carbonatites lacking vesicles. Essentially,
the vesicles, guys,
means that carbonatites didn't have any gas bubbles within them that could account for the solidification of lava. Now, radiometric dating shows that the carbonatite rocks cooled between 94 and 104 million years ago. This makes the matter of tracing its origin geologically complex. It's difficult to understand the historical development of this unique formation. Regardless, what are some interpretations of the origin of this eye?
And they gotta show Atlantis when they say, what are some interpretations, Atlantis?
History of origin. In the 1930s and 1940s,
did they think we wouldn't notice
Eye of
the
Sahara,
backwards?
initially referred to as Richat Crater or Richat Butt 40s, the Eye of Mystery of Origin.
The backwards map?
In the 1930s and 1940s, the Eye of the Sahara, initially referred to as Richat Crater or Richat Buttonhole, went through many different interpretations of its origin. In 1948, Richard Mollard proposed a laccolithic thrust as the cause. In basic terms, laccolithic thrust is a geological process.
And if you want a laccolithic thrust, you can go to adamandeve.com and, oh, hold on, that's not my show. Not my show.
That involves the entering of magma into the surrounding rocks. After this, the formation was briefly considered to be an impact structure. However, this interpretation was proven wrong.
I don't think it's any kind of indication it's an impact structure.
When in the 1950s and 1960s, researchers did a more in-depth examination. It was found out and suggested the terrestrial processes were the formative mechanism of this structure. In the late 1960s, extensive field and laboratory studies failed to produce credible and reliable evidence of shock metamorphism, or even
it's a volcano
and deformation characteristics of a hypervelocity extraterrestrial impact.
Maya says that if you want magma in your
there was another mistake in the initial reports as well. Initial reports of coesite, a form of silicon dioxide that indicates shock metamorphism, had to be revised later on after further analysis. The analysis revealed that baryte had been misidentified as coesite in rock samples from the Richau structure.
COVID
study, which was
COVID in rock samples, what?
Conducted by Matten et al. From 2005 to 2008, confirmed the conclusion that the Eye of the Sahara is actually not an impact structure. Adding to this, a 2011
Thank you. Give Brentley a plug. Appreciate it.
multi-analytical study on Richat's megabreccias determined that carbonates that exist within the silica-rich megabreccias were created due to low-temperature hydrothermal water. However, there is still wide contention over the origin of the Eye of the Sahara. But all this evidence...
Every time it says that, it's like, oh, also, we got to show you Atlantis. There's a lot we don't know, probably. I mean, I'm not a geologist. But there's a lot of things that we don't know about the Sahara Desert that we're finding out stuff all the time. It doesn't mean we're going to find out that it was an ancient civilization, no. I just don't think that's true.
Points to the fact that the Sahara was once an expansive sea. Is this what Joe Rogan's announcement is related to? What lies beneath?
The Sahara was a sea long enough ago that it was like before the age of mammals. It was the Mesozoic. Right?
Beneath the Eye of the Sahara. A violent eruption. While scientists around the world continue to explore the mysteries surrounding...
I'm a heretic, Maya. I'm a heretic to Atlantean folklore.
The Eye of the Sahara, 2 Canadian geologists have something to add. They have hypothesized that the formation of the eye started over 100 million years ago when the supercontinent Pangaea was breaking up. As plate tectonics tore Africa and South America apart, a dome of rock similar to a pimple was formed due to the molten rock surging toward the surface. An interesting thing here is that this exact geological activity is what also gave rise to the fault lines around and in the eye. Simultaneously,
it was a pimple that popped. That's Earth's pimple.
Rock interacted with the limestone at the center of the eye, which eventually led to its dissolution and the
Doubting Timpani.
Creation of breccia. The fact that concentric rings around the eye consist of different rock types.
Oh, Maya, you got me there. If there is no Atlantis, where did the space Hebrews go when they landed on Earth? It could have been they could have gone to Lemuria, the lost city of Zarahemla. Yeah.
Is evidence of different erosion rates.
Ooh, the Antarctic secret civilization at the South Pole.
The lighter circles near the center are the result of the volcanic rock formation during the explosion. This is one proposed sequence of geological events that is accepted for understanding the mind-wrecking formation of the Eye of the Sahara. But Joe Rogan has just announced something that changes everything.
Spill it.
A lost ancient city. Atlantis is a tale of a lost civilization that drowned beneath the ocean waves. The concept of Atlantis is dismissed as mythical and a mere story. But the recent scientific discovery has changed everything.
Has it?
Atlantis originates from the accounts of the Greek philosopher Plato. The story dates back to approximately 360 BC, when in the unfinished work of Plato, Timaeus, Plato described the world and its origins. How does the narrative unfold, and what connection does this have with the Eye of Sahara?
Does this have?
The story goes as...
What connection does it have?
As the Weissman Solon travels to Egypt and comes across a priestess who speaks of a once great civilization. Due to a catastrophic event, the people of this civilization sought refuge in a capital with features of lush vegetation. The capital was organized into 3 circles of land, which were surrounded by 2 circles of water. Moreover, the priestess specifically mentioned geographical features that sound similar. These features include a northern mountain range and a southern flowing river that ran through or above the city. However, most importantly, the priestess recalled that 9,000 years prior, the city met its demise.
And the priestess recalled that 9,000 years later, she recalled that. Okay.
Believe how. It was swallowed by the sea. Even though Atlantis often has been sensationalized in popular culture and dismissed as a myth, Plato's account and recent Sahara discoveries say something completely different. Plato's account gives scientists the confidence to move forward and possibly claim that Atlantis did exist. This ancient
You think so? You think that Atlantis existed because
civilization might actually be real. Shocking similarities. The Eye of the Sahara lies within the country of Mauritania in the western part of the Sahara. It extends 25 miles in diameter as mapped by the NASA satellites. This site has been an irresistible attraction for historians, archaeologists, and scientists. The reasons are none other than the mysterious and complex geography of this area.
Your last video complained about how hardly any studies have been done there because they couldn't get to it.
Something more notable about this eye. The concentric rings of the structure are closely similar to the described layout of the capital of Atlantis. Does this suggest a definite link between the eye layout of the capital?
That is like the Earth inverted. It's South America, North America, there's Florida. Here's Africa over here. So it's just reversed. The image is reversed. And this is that video that was made to show how the Sahara dust was blowing across the Atlantic into Brazil.
Capital of Atlantis. Does this suggest a definite link between the Eye of the Sahara and the lost civilization? Many people discard the notion of the sunken Atlantis in the eye because, after all, the Sahara is a dry and arid desert. But climate change is the savior here. Contrary to its current desert state, the Sahara was actually a very tropical region once. The historical texts about this desert and the scientific estimates confirm this line of reasoning. The research has found remains of sea animals. Topographical and gravitational
studies. At least they used an actual sea snake and not a desert snake that time.
Conducted in the region have revealed traces of ancient rivers and lakes. These ancient rivers include the expansive river basins of Senegal and Niger.
Yeah, and we're not disputing that. I'm disputing is your claim that it's Atlantis.
As well as the significant Tamanrasset River. Tamanrasset River, according to researchers, had the possibility of sustaining a thriving civilization with agricultural, transportation, and trade capabilities.
Did they have mechs? Wait a second. Were there ancient Egyptian mechs?
The Sahara ever flood? Well, the Sahara's potential to flood is rooted in its dynamic geological history. Approximately 50 to 100 million years ago, a waterway known as
that was a banded sea snake.
The Trans-Saharan Seaway connected the Mediterranean to the Atlantic, ran through the Sahara. Even though this event predates the predicted demise of Atlantis, this establishes one fact: Sahara had the historical capacity to contain vast amounts of water. Now, according to accounts from Plato's
before tectonic upheaval lifted the continent above the level at which it would be able to sustain a sea millions of years before human civilization even started. But yeah, it had lakes and wetlands that flowed into the Mediterranean, into the Atlantic, and into the Indian Ocean.
Yes, Atlantis met its end around 11,500 years ago due to a catastrophic flood. Climate scientists argue that the Earth has experienced several ice ages. This means the Earth is marked by gradual ice buildup and
Africa spending most of the ice age at an equatorial latitude has largely avoided the effects of some of the more dramatic effects of the ice age. That's why they still have a lot of their megafauna.
Melting. This could have easily resulted in a good amount of rise in sea levels. The most recent ice age is estimated to have ended around 11,500 years ago.
No, we're still in the ice age. We're in an ice age right now, in the midst of an ice age. We're at a warming period in the midst of an ice age, but we're in an ice age nonetheless.
Coincided with a remarkable temperature spike. Even though the decline of the ice age was gradual and aligns with the theory of climate change, the potential melting of ice sheets could have led to a significant rise in the Mediterranean Sea. This could have easily caused the flood that drowned pre-Saharan Africa and in its wake buried the city. Deposits of salt observed in the Sahara today are considered remnants of this ancient civilization. Despite being...
We understand that the Sahara was once under the sea. No, but it was under the sea a long time ago.
Often seen as a desolate and unfriendly terrain, the Sahara Desert is home to a wealth of historical treasures and vanished societies. The Eye of the Sahara still mesmerizes scientists, historians, and explorers.
I watched that whole video and didn't get your Joe Rogan announcement.
As well as its
Did I miss the Joe Rogan announcement? Is it just that they think they found cities under here and they didn't show any evidence of that?
Geological structures and abandoned towns. The secrets buried deep below the Sahara may change our perception of human history forever. As technology and curiosity push us farther into the unknown, the civilizations that once thrived in this arid region will continue to be discovered. Do you think the Eye of the Sahara was once home to an ancient civilization?
No.
Drop your thoughts in the comments below and stay subscribed to our channel for more updates.
I feel betrayed by the unknown. The unknown has betrayed me because they promised that they would explain what Joe Rogan quote to me, and it didn't. And now I'm sad, but that's all right. What do you guys think about the Eye of the Sahara? Is it a caldera? Is it a meteor impact crater? Is it a lost Atlantean empire? Please tell me in the comments down below. And please remember to be kind. Take care, and we'll see you next time. All right. Don't go anywhere. Again, don't go. We have one more segment of the show that's going to be fun. We're going to talk about this bear from Japan that was pretty crazy in Bree's Bestiary, because we are doing the summer of the man-eaters. And in the summer of the man-eaters, there's going to be... I try to bounce around different areas of the country, not try to cover the same regions over and over again. So we're actually going to be going to Japan. But before I do that, I'm going to take an intermission because I got to go potty. And also my coffee's gone, so I'm going to get something different to drink. I'll be back momentarily.
This legend raises a lovely problem. How does it come about that the face of a warrior is cut on the carapace of a Japanese crab? How could it be? The answer seems to be that humans made this face. But how? Like many other features, the patterns on the back or carapace of this crab are inherited. But among crabs, as among humans, there are many different hereditary lines. Now, suppose purely by chance, among the distant ancestors of this crab, there came to be one which looked just a little bit like a human face. Long before the battle, fishermen may have been reluctant to eat a crab with a human face. In throwing it back into the sea, they were setting into motion a process of selection. If you're a crab, and your carapace is just ordinary, the humans are going to eat you. But if it looks a little bit like a face, they'll throw you back, and you'll be able to have lots of nice little baby crabs that all look just like you. As many generations passed of crabs and fisher folk alike, the crabs with patterns that look most like a samurai face preferentially survived. Until eventually, There was produced not just a human face, not just a Japanese face, but the face of a samurai warrior. All this has nothing to do with what the crabs might want. Selection is imposed from the outside. The more you look like a samurai, the better your chances of survival. Eventually, there are a lot of crabs that look like samurai warriors.
Right, here we go. Hello, hello. Welcome to Breeze Bestiary in the summer of the Man-Eater. Greetings, my friends and fam out there. Pragmatic Crystal asks, holy hell, Bray, did you see the video of the mantid fly that I shot? Super weird. Yes, mantid flies are so cool. I used to put up light traps back in Illinois, and it's like just take a white sheet and you ping it up, and bugs come in and land on it because they're attracted to it. Because you gotta do it at night, of course. But we get all kinds of different colored mantid flies that were so bright and beautiful. So yeah, I love mantid flies. But today we are talking about bears. I actually like bears a lot. We're talking about brown bears today, and I figured incidents, history's most unbelievable true stories could break this tale down for us. They got all sorts of cool stuff. I'm going to subscribe because I like the channel. Talks about, tornadoes, getting lost at sea. But their very first video was about the Senkabetsu brown bear incident, and that's what we're going to watch. So buckle in. This is a wild tale. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to pronounce the Japanese names either, so just make that clear. Senkabetsu is about the closest you're going to get out of me. No, there's no sound yet. All right.
November 1915. While Imperial Japan navigated through World War I, winter was settling in around the small hamlet of Rokusensawa Sankebetsu, a homely village located roughly 18 miles inland from the west coast of Hokkaido Island. As the last leaves fell and the first snowfalls of the season blanketed the forest floor, the members of this small community were no doubt preparing for another long, cold, and snowy season. The village was newly settled and still extremely wild. Villagers in those days faced no small share of hardships and were no stranger to facing the wild animals of the region. What they didn't...
Some people don't think about Japan having a lot of megafauna and stuff, but they got wolves and they've got bears. That's about it as far as big, large predators, but they should say they had wolves. I don't know.
No, however, was that deep in the forest near the town, something deadly had awoken. Something that would cement this winter in this town forever in the country's nightmares. The Ussuri brown bear is one of the largest types of brown bear, reaching sizes which can rival the famous
if not friend, then why friend-shaped?
Kodiak bear. They are by far the largest predators on the island of Hokkaido, and as such can eat and kill any prey, although much of their diet is vegetarian. Like in most places, humans are generally too much trouble to kill and eat, but this has not stopped Ussuri bears from attacking people in the past. Between 1900 and 1957, it is reported that 141 people were killed by brown bears on the island. 7 of these would happen in just 2 days in 1915.
Tough week.
Sometime in mid-November, a large Ussuri
See, looks so derpy. I want to just boop him. I want to go like that. Boop.
brown bear showed up at the house of the Ikeda family in Rokusen-sawa. Though this encounter was harmless and the bear took only some harvested corn, it was unusual because most bears should have been in hibernation by this point in the winter. It is now believed that the uncharacteristic behavior of this bear was due to it being woken early from hibernation due to hunger, making it a bear without a hole in Japanese terminology. On November
Him the hungry boy. He means snacks.
20, the animal reappeared at the house. Fearing for the safety of his horse, the head of the family organized a small party to wait for the bear's return. 10 days later, the bear reappeared, and the small group managed to shoot it but not kill it. Believing the bear would now fear humans and thus stay away from settlements, they considered the effort a success.
Where did you shoot it at, though? Because you might have just made things worse.
It was not.
I managed to mute myself before I coughed there.
3 weeks later, on the morning of December 9th, the bear appeared at the Ota family farm. Present were Abe Mayu, the farmer's wife, and Hasumi Mikio, an unrelated baby she was taking care of. Upon entering the home, the bear killed baby Mikio with a bite to the head. Abe Mayu put up a struggle, but was ultimately knocked down and dragged into the forest.
So the wounded, hungry bear came back to the farm, busted in, and ate a baby.
Never to be seen alive again. Early the next morning, a search party, some 30 men strong, set out to hunt the killer bear. They entered the forest and had walked no more than 150 meters before meeting it face to face. 5 men fired upon the animal, but only one hit his mark, and the animal retreated. Searching around the area,
they need to get better guns or better marksmen.
The men found blood in the snow at the base of a fir tree. Under the snow was the corpse of Abe Mayu. Only her head and legs remained. Having now gotten a taste of human flesh, the villagers were certain that the bear would return. It did so that same night, coming right back to the scene of the crime at the Ota farm. The main group of guardsmen, now some 50 strong, had been stationed at the neighboring Miyuki house, and as such, only one man managed to get a shot at the beast before it retreated.
So it came right back to where where it was before, and it's gonna
marched off into the forest down the Sankebetsu River, attempting to follow the bear. Unbeknownst to them, however, they had completely lost the trail. Back at the Miyuki house, the only people present were now women and children, with a single guardsman remaining at the door. Miyuki Yayo, the wife of the house, was preparing a meal when she heard a rumbling outside. Before she could even investigate, the bear broke through the window and had entered the house. Yayo attempted to flee.
There were 50 dudes with guns that just left to chase after this bear, and it circled back.
But was tripped by her second son, Yujiro, who, in panic, had clung to his mother's legs. The bear then attacked her and bit her 4th son, Umekichi, as he clung to her back. The guardsman, hearing what was happening, ran into the house where the bear released the woman and child and turned to him, clawing at his back as he attempted to hide behind the furniture. Yayo and
he ran inside to hide?
Umekichi managed to escape alive. In the chaos, the oil lamp and fire at the stove were both extinguished and the house was plunged into darkness.
Yeah, this is actually, I think you can go see this, like this reconstruction here in Japan at Sankebetsu. I think you can actually go visit this like a tourist site.
Continued its assault, fatally wounding 2 children and biting 1 more, before finally killing Saito Take, a pregnant woman and the mother of 2 of the boys who had just been attacked. The villagers later testified that they could hear Take pleading with the bear to eat only her head and not her belly for the sake of the unborn child. The fetus was later recovered alive but died shortly afterwards.
So this bear went full Anakin Skywalker. He's on the dark side now.
The group of men who had tracked the bear downriver finally realized their mistake far too late. As they returned to the village, Miyuki Yeo, having narrowly escaped death, met them and frantically related the news of what had happened. They approached the Miyuki house, Bear still inside, and waited at the door. As the animal stepped out into the winter night, the men had a clear chance to end its reign of terror then and there. However, they had all bunched up behind one man at the front, and, not wanting to shoot him, the large majority did not fire their guns, while the man at the front's gun misfired. The bear escaped. As
this is like Jason Voorhees of bears at this point, right? Like, how many times has it been shot? And, it just keeps going.
The men entered the house under torchlight. There was nothing left to do but examine the grisly aftermath. On the next day, December 11th, two men returned who had both left the village after the initial attack on December 9th. The first was Saito Ishiguro, the husband of Saito Take, unaware that he had by now lost one son, his wife, and an unborn child to the bear. The second was Miyuki Yasutaro.
That'd be crazy, come back and your whole family killed by the bear that you went out to try to hunt. Oh my gosh.
Husband of Miyuki Yeo, who had also lost a son. Yasutaro was returning from a visit to Yamamoto Heikichi, a renowned bear hunter. Heikichi had by then sold his gun for alcohol and refused to help, but identified the bear as Kesagake, meaning the diagonal.
So he sold his gun for alcohol, which is, to each their own. I get that. If I had a gun, I'd sell it right now.
Slash from the shoulder. This beast had already been blamed for the deaths of 3 women. By December 12th, news of the attack had reached the Hokkaido government. The Hoboro Branch Police Station organized a 6-man sniper team with guns and villagers from neighboring towns, and by that evening, the team had traveled to Rokusen-sawa. Along with them was Yamamoto Heikichi, who had by now been convinced to lend his help. The team decided that the best way to lure the bear in would be by using the corpses of his victims, a plan heavily resisted by their families. Ultimately, however, they agreed that it was best for the future of their...
So they're going to use the dead bodies of the people that he killed to lure the bear in. Yikes.
...their village. That night, the team waited inside a house with the dead bodies. Kesagake approached the door, but, apparently sensing danger, immediately turned round and disappeared into the forest. It did not reappear that day, and the plan ended in failure. On December 13th, the team decided to widen their search area and realized that Kesagake was now making his way downstream. Realizing that this could lead him to other villages, they decided to wait at a bridge for the eventual arrival of the bear. Late that night, a sniper caught a glimpse of a shadow flickering in between the tree stumps on the far shore. Believing it to be a man, the police captain called out to it, but no response came. The captain gave the command to open fire, and under a spray of bullets, the shadow retreated into the forest. The next morning, the team investigated the area across the river.
This is a super bear. Yeah, this bear is like, I don't know. He's something else, right, Sumami?
River. There they found bloody bear tracks, confirming that they had hit their target. With impending snowstorms threatening to cover the tracks, Yamamoto Heikichi and a local guide immediately set off to track the bear, as Heikichi believed a 2-man team would be faster. The men found Kesagake, wounded and resting at the base of an oak tree, and Heikichi finally finished him off with 1 shot to the heart and 1 to the head. The ordeal was finally over. As the men dragged the bear back to the village, an extremely violent snowstorm arose and continued for several hours. Believing it to be a result of the bear's death, the village...
It was the angry spirits.
...dubbed it Kuma Arashi, the bear storm, a phrase which later became the title of 2 novels and a play written about the incident. Kesagake was measured at 340 kilograms, 749 pounds, and 2.7 meters, 8 feet
Bear.
10 inches tall. The villagers kept the bear's skull and some fur, but these were eventually lost to time. The final casualty of the incident was the village of Rokusensawa itself, as after such a horrible tragedy, the villagers quickly began to leave, turning the area into a ghost town. Today, there remains only a shrine which reconstructs the events of the incident.
Yeah,
It
that's what I
contains
was talking about, the shrine.
multiple period-accurate houses, along with a life-size statue of Kesagake towering over a fence, and another breaking through the wall of a house. Overgrown by trees and constantly dim even on the sunniest of days, the shrine stands in silent remembrance of those who lost their lives during that fateful winter all those years ago.
I bet we wouldn't taste good at all, even to a bear. Lots of fat and on almost all of us, and we're filled with toxins. Well, we talked about the Pishtacos earlier in the show, and they wanted us nice and fat. All right. Well, that was the story of the man-eating bear of Japan. Hopefully, that was entertaining and nice continuation of the summer of the man-eater. I appreciate everybody for sticking around and hanging out, and please be kind, take care, and we will see you next time. Live from the Hive audience, a couple of things I wanted to go over. Next week, I don't think I'm going to be doing Live from the Hive next week, so I'll have to push the episode back. I will be last minute taking a trip to Austin. So next week's show on Friday I've already rescheduled. This next week's Live from the Hive I haven't figured out yet, but I may record something and premiere it. I don't know. But it'll be the first time I've missed a show in a while. I think it'll be the first time I voluntarily missed a show where I wasn't hospitalized. So go figure. But thank you again for the $2 super chat to Freak. Really appreciate you. Appreciate all y'all out there who are willing to donate and help me out here during this struggle. But yeah, we'll be going to Austin. Actually, Matt and Arden have both messaged me and said they're getting their guest room ready for little old me. So, I really appreciate that. And it should be a fun time. I get to see all the snakes and lizards. But I may do something that day, that's during the day sometime, like just a stream on my phone or something with saying, hey, this is what I'm up to. But I may record. I don't know. I'm going to put off the polls, though, for now. And then we will revisit the polls next week. But other than that, that's all the announcements I have, I think. I'm not collecting bats or guano, no. I'm not collecting anything. Say hi to Lord Vasuki for me. All right. Well, I'm going to let y'all go. If they've got a cobra around. Maybe like a false water cobra or something. Yeah, I'm going to have a blast and may not want to leave. That's not wrong. Not wrong. No, it's going to be fun. All right. So, let me tell you, like I do at the end of the show here all the time, is please remember to be kind. Take care. And we will see you next time.
Now gather round, children. I'll tell you a tale about valiant squid and some bloodthirsty whales. A battle that rages deep in the blue sea, far from the surface, from you and from me. Squid and whales in the battle of the century. Squid and whales were determined to conquer the sea. Suction cups and giant beaks, first dorsal fins, blubber and meat. Some giant squid with giant eyes versus sperm whales of massive sizing. Suckers, hooks and tentacles against the earth's largest mammals. The mighty titans of the sea in battle for their destiny. And the cephalopods sing. Squid and whales, 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 squid and whales.
With all the noise, pseudoscience, and political rhetoric clogging the airwaves about transgender people, it can be difficult to understand what's really happening and what's really true. Good news, everyone! Welcome to The Transpositions, your compass in the rugged landscape of transgender issues. Here, we strive to be the beacon of authenticity, providing a platform that amplifies the voices and experiences of the transgender community. From breaking news to in-depth features to breaking down the real science, we are committed to fostering understanding, empathy, and empowerment for all individuals across the gender spectrum. Join us as we navigate the complexities, celebrate the triumphs, and advocate for the rights of transgender people worldwide. Together, we can redefine boundaries, challenge stereotypes, and champion inclusivity. Subscribe today. The link is in the description.